Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Graveyardmedia podcast for the week of um, October 16th, 2017. I'm your co-host Saine, and with me is Dalsson
Hey!
and Thel.
We still in it, boys. Still fucking Halloween, guys. It's still fucking Halloween.
Halloween ain't over yet!
Halloween all month, right? Okay, so first we're going to start off with games and movies we've been playing and watching this week. Then take a break and then head into gaming and movie news after that.
And we're actually gonna do it this time, for real though.
Maybe.
Probably. I have a couple of movies I'll talk about. Do you guys mind if I go first this time?
Sure.
I know I don't usually go first, but I'd like
that
to go
is
first
absolutely fine with me. Go ahead and start, Thel.
Alright, so first thing that I want to talk about, I'm just gonna go in chronological order about like the stuff that I've seen. First movie I saw this week was the new Blade Runner movie, and I absolutely loved it. It was fabulous. I cannot think of a time like recently when I was more enthralled in a movie's world going to a theater. Like, this movie really drew me in. I loved it. Aesthetically, it's beautiful. As everyone has said, it definitely has the same Blade Runner aesthetics that the previous movie did, while mixing in very sort of modern aesthetics. And usually when people say it like modernizes something, it's talking about like, it made it dumb and stupid, but no. This modernized it in like a Beyond the Black Rainbow.
I honestly thought it felt even more noir than the first one did.
Oh, noir, yeah, definitely. I meant like visually, it had that what's like really bright colors on really dark background sort of thing. Which honestly, I'm trying to think of like the first one that really got it going. I know Under the Skin definitely sort of started that, like getting popular, but I feel like Beyond the Black Rainbow was the one that like began it like as a sort of popular for now for like sci-fi movies. Definitely took a lot of that, and I was really happy about it. It blended those two styles very well together because they just go together really good. Um, the story was incredible. It was, yeah, and like Sain said, it was much more noir than the other one because it was like definitely absolutely just straight up a mystery. And I feel like it brought in a really good conclusion to this trilogy, and it's weird to see how it's come from Lars and the Real Girl moving to her, and now Blade Runner 2049. Really happy about the story of
Whatever, Thel.
the great waifu story. But yeah. It's.
I don't know.
Hmm?
What are your thoughts of it overall, though? Like in terms of the writing.
Oh, in terms of the writing, I loved the writing. Like I said, okay. Like I said, I haven't been as enthralled with the world in a very long time. The writing is very good. The story is very good. There was specifically. Oh wait, no, that was something I wanted to talk about with sound design. There was a scene, and I'm trying not to give a lot away because talking about the writing is really tough because it's really hard not to give a lot away.
Right.
There was a specific scene that sort of set up a motivation for a character that this scene has been used in like every fucking movie ever, and it's been used a lot recently. And because of like the background with this other character, when this scene happens, I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh shit, now this character is going to be pissed and is gonna want to go fight the bad guy. I thought, you better fucking go kill those assholes. They did a bad fucking thing. They did a bad fucking thing. Just because of how rich all of the characters are in this movie. Did
you kind of see, though, last week one of my points was that I would be hesitant to suggest this movie to just anybody because it is kind of slow paced in a weird way.
Yeah, and I do kind of agree. It is a little bit slow. But here's the thing. One of the things like I wanted to say at the end when I got to this, but I'll just do it now. Bring your 5-year-old son, go to see Blade Runner. He'll fucking love it. I was in a theater, right?
Oh no. Okay.
Some dumbass parents brought their 5-year-old goddamn kid to see Blade Runner 2049. Now here's the thing. There
Better
there
than
are
bringing
very
him into Wind River.
yeah, true enough,
Suppose.
but there you can absolutely see what the movie is rated. And this is not hard information to acquire. Um, Not only that, but this was in like the dead of night. This was like a 9 o'clock in the night screening that went to like 12 o'clock, like midnight. So, I mean, I have several questions about this, and like, I was, oh no, this kid's gonna be bored as fuck throughout this entire movie. He's gonna be so bored. It's gonna be terrible. This kid was like silent. He made like 3 noises in all of the 2.5 hour runtime that this movie was. This kid was also apparently enthralled in this world. So
funny.
maybe I disagree with you. Maybe.
I don't know. There was a scene.
Hmm.
There was a scene where he was looking at bees, and I was like, "This is a cool scene and all, but I don't know if this is exactly necessary." Yes.
There were a couple scenes like
Yes,
that.
Dalsson.
Are there titties in the movie?
Oh yeah, there's
A
titties.
little bit.
Hell yeah.
That's one of the things. But yeah, there are a bunch of very very slow scenes, like specifically when he's at the end of the first confrontation with the dude. He goes around and like does detective work and looks all around his house and tries to make sure he got everything.
One thing I appreciated about the movie is it did have a very like clear movement from act to act. You could kind of you could very easily kind of break it up, where it almost felt like 3 different stories that were tied together rather than one continuous one necessarily.
Right.
Not to say that it's broken up, like it moves in a way that it goes from next act to act without seeming weird, but it does seem like those could be separate chunks.
Yeah,
pretty easily.
And what I really liked what it did with the ending, again without getting spoilers. 2 things about the ending. The first thing is that the original intention of Ridley Scott's Blade Runner was it was going to end sort of on a cliffhanger, kind of, because like you didn't know if they got out safe or not. And the studio made him change that. And in the you got the final cut, which still has that. It's very much sort of like that. The ending sort of does end like that, in that it's the ending for this specific character rather than what happens overarching with the world. Like,
interesting.
This character has done his job and he's done now, and it's sort of like this all could happen with the world, but that's not what this story is about. I really like that. And second off,
it seems like a snapshot of that world rather than rather than like a cataclysmic event that changes the course of the whole world. It's not that. It is. I mean, it can be, I guess, depending on how you look at it, but it definitely did feel like just one chunk of a world that was greater than the story, which is always really good to see. Kind of also, world buildy rather than just like this is the whole story.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's also with the very end. The second thing that I was going to say, they played a very very familiar song at the end. It was one of the most prominent songs from the score of the original Blade Runner, and it did sort of bring everything back. It brought everything back around in a really nice. A really nice way. Felt great hearing that song, but I would have gotten the exact same feeling, and you talked about this a little bit, saying if they had just played Real Human Being at the end.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like the end is very reminiscent of Drive. Like it is almost it could have been the same thing.
Not only the end, but like a lot of spoiler alert, Ryan Gosling's character spends a lot of time in this movie driving.
Is he driving a car or a spaceship?
It's a space car. A hover
car.
It's
a regular hover car. It doesn't go to space.
Okay. So it's like an air car.
Yeah, it's basically like an airplane. I don't know. A hover airplane.
And you have proved to be a real human being. But yeah. Very, very good. One thing I did want to talk about, again, like with Denny's previous movie, Arrival. A really good sound design. Specifically, I noticed it in a scene that is in a lot of movies, like someone's getting out of bed and doing something sinister while someone else is like in the shower and doing stuff. In most movies, what this would do, and this like the stuff that was set up previously in the movie doesn't really facilitate this, but in the sound design, what this would do is like there would be shower noises, and then maybe like a shower curtain being pulled. And then just, honey, do you know where my keys are? And that would be like it. That would be as much like sound you would be getting from the background. In this movie, like, nothing is said. There's like 3 seconds of shower, some footsteps from like one side to another. Someone turns something on, and like you hear a little bit of like a technology jingle, and it's like you can get a picture of what is going on back there where things are not important while you're watching this other stuff. Like it paints this really, really, really obvious picture of the man like walking around his house and doing this and doing that instead of just like a fucking shower sound.
If you turn off your autofocus, it keeps on focusing in and out.
Oh, dang it. Sorry about that.
It's just kind of distracting.
Skype
okay.
fucking doesn't save your settings in between uses.
I don't think any of the programs do. I think it's just a weird quirk about webcams because I have to turn off my autofocus every time too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
the
forget.
worst.
And it still autofocuses a little bit, so I don't even see why it has like an autofocus setting.
That might just be like the webcam having a
Maybe.
built-in autofocus. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. But yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I probably should have done that before. But yeah.
That's all right.
Overall, Blade Runner, fantastic movie. I loved it. It might be my favorite movie of the year. Incredible. I loved every second of it.
It's been a good year for movies.
Yeah, it's been a real
for
damn
sure.
good year. God.
It's been such a good year. Like both for games and movies this year. It's been like so hard to even like keep track of what came out this year, just because there's been so many good games.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
movies.
even if you just discount the shit that's come out, there's just so
it's
much
hard to
good
keep up, yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
The next thing I saw, speaking of good stuff that's come out this year, War of the Planet of the Apes. Now I've had I've been very, very consistent with my feelings on these. And I've you guys, both of you have heard this from me a million goddamn times. Specifically when the previous movie came out and when this one came out. These goddamn monkey movies is good. These goddamn monkey movies is better than they have any goddamn right to be.
It's like crazy because when the first one came out, everybody like just when it was being advertised, it was like, oh, they're making a Planet of the Apes movie.
It's got fucking James Franco in it. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like
bullshit.
It's like, oh, this is gonna be a soulless cash grab, and I've seen the first two. It's not even. You can't even get that vibe from it.
Well,
Yeah,
I think what
really
was misleading about that was it was after the last time they tried to reboot it.
Yeah, with
which was a soulless cash grab. So
Yeah.
coming with like it, they went from that one, which was kind of like a remake of the first one.
Oh, it was
and then
entirely
they went.
remake.
Oh, was it? I don't really
straight
remember.
up.
Yeah.
I've seen the original version, but I haven't seen the remake.
Okay, that's probably good.
So, and then this one was like a prequel, and people were like, "Oh, okay, this is just gonna be more of that," but it wasn't. So
yeah, it came out, and the first one was like pretty good. It was like, wow, this is better than anyone expected, and we're like, yay, we're praising it.
I forgot
Second one came out.
I forgot War came out this year because
I first saw that. I think my mom had turned it on like the cable box or something, and I sat down and just kind of started watching it. She was off doing something else. She just left the TV on. I started watching it, maybe like 10 minutes into the movie or something. But it's not like I flipped through the channel, saw the title of the movie. I didn't know what I was watching. I didn't even know it was related to Planet of the Apes until Caesar started learning to talk. And I was like, wait a second, is this Planet of the Apes? And I turned it on. I was like, oh my god, this is great.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then the second one comes along, and I was like, hey, and everyone was like really dismissive. I was like, it's fucking monkeys riding horses and shooting guns. This looks dumb as shit. I was like, the last one was really good. This one might be really good too. I like there was a clip that was released of like Koba faking out these two soldiers and then just shooting them. I was like, wow, this is a really good scene. Guys, this movie's probably gonna be really good. I don't fucking know about that
yeah.
monkey movie. And then I watched it. I forced Dalsson to watch it too recently, and was like, holy shit, this is even better than the first one.
Yeah.
God damn.
I
that
liked the first
scene,
one better,
that
but-
scene where Koba fakes the soldiers out with
Yeah.
the gun. I also there like when that movie came out, there was also like a GIF or a WebM or a short video, whatever.
I probably sent you that video and forced you to watch it.
No, floating around of it was
Oh yeah,
not
yeah,
from
yeah.
the it was not from the movie. It was like some just two dudes in Africa and a monkey came and picked up their gun and was walking around with it and they were just laughing at him and like
And, then
and
the
like I
monkey just-
hadn't seen the movie before that and the monkey just like this is like a real video and the monkey just kind of like puts the gun down eventually and fucks off. But
Yeah.
I like when I saw that scene in the movie, I was like, holy shit. It actually does look exactly like the fucking little real life video people were talking about.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah.
So you just saw it now because is it DVD now? Is that what happened?
I think yeah. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, okay. I have not seen War for the Planet of the Apes, but I saw the two.
Well, I saw it on a streaming service.
I think it was
Oh, okay.
Dawn and Rise were the first
Yeah.
two.
Yeah, it was Rise of the Planet of the Apes, then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was the second one. It was very much just sort of getting the apes together and sort of showing off their conflict with the humans and where this would lead to War of the Planet of the Apes, which is the one that I just saw. War of the Planet of the Apes is very, very good. It's very, very much taking from Apocalypse Now, from the point where it's like the first.
Why
time that
shouldn't
you
it?
see yeah, okay. From the point where the first time you like see the Colonel, he's lit in like that yellow lights, and Woody Harrelson looks a lot fatter than he was supposed to.
I have a confession to make. I actually have never seen Apocalypse Now.
Oh fuck, I need to show both of y'all Apocalypse Now. It's holy fucking shit, it's good.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I really liked War. I'm not sure if I liked War better than the first one because I really did like the first one like a lot.
Yeah.
And I like the first one better than the second one.
Okay.
That's
Um,
kind of weird because I kind of like the second
most
one
people,
the best.
most people I've
Yeah.
heard have said that they liked the second one better, but I definitely like the first one better than the second one.
I like the
but
first
War
one.
might be my favorite, but
Yeah.
I also might still just like the first one better. I don't know. Something
Yeah.
about like that origin story, it was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I think that like just on a conceptual level, I might have liked it better.
Right.
My question, just a speculation question. Do you guys think that they are going to stop at War for the Planet of the Apes, or do you think they're going to
this is
remake?
the end.
Well, do you think they're going to remake Planet of the Apes again?
I don't think that they are. Well,
I mean, they
first off,
could.
here's the thing. I do think they're going to remake Planet of the Apes again. I think it's just going to be completely unrelated to these movies.
Okay. I mean, yeah, Planet of the Apes is one of those movies that's asking people to remake it
Again and again and again.
again and again.
Well,
again.
after
Just
the
because
last
it was
attempt, it
classic.
kind of needs it.
Yeah, exactly.
And while the first one was good, it
But
hasn't aged well in places.
But if like this studio remade it, do you think it would be better than?
Well,
Maybe
here's
not-
the thing. These are like very, very different movies than that.
Yeah.
And they sort of have like a different message and a different feel. I feel like I feel like the director working on these movies with War of the Planet of the Apes, he was done. This is the end of the movie. Like he like with the end of the movie, he sort of makes that clear. Like
I think that
this is Caesar's final chapter.
I think
Okay.
that the writing is more important. Like the writers is more important in this situation. Like yes, the director. I'm good. I'm glad that the director was consistent through the first three. But you can get a
I
new
think it was-
director as long as you have a good team of writers still.
Yeah.
That's
True.
The thing is, one of the things that was really great about this is that everyone involved, were all doing really good performances in these fucking green screen suits. And that's tough as fuck to direct.
Yeah.
And everyone did an incredible job, which
I mean, yeah.
consistently.
I don't know. I just think that the message of the original Planet of the Apes kind of updated
Mhm.
would make sense in kind of our current time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
maybe.
that right now it might be appropriate of a revisit to that idea anyway. So
Well,
I don't know.
and here's the thing. What I thought would be a really appropriate thing something that would be really appropriate would be a socially progressive Star Trek.
Isn't that all of Star Trek except
Speaking
for
of which,
Well,
have you
return.
have you ever did you
I
ever watch
still have
more
not,
of
no.
Discovery? Okay,
No.
well.
I didn't watch more of it either.
I know I haven't, but we
Oh.
were talking to Thel about
Watching like a
watching
at
at least
the third
the
episode.
episode that we got to.
Yeah.
We have another
Maybe.
friend who was saying that the rest of this show, like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. Like,
That
least
being
it wasn't
said, I don't know
shown.
how I feel about that. I don't know.
Like it wasn't Star Trek.
yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, like
I don't think it's bad if they try and do something different with Star
Yeah.
Trek. It needs it. It's been out for 50 years.
Well, I don't know. They've been doing a lot of like hard sci-fi.
well, every
stuff
Star
that's been-
Trek has been different than the previous Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Mm.
But like something like we were
Something
saying before, this
smarter,
is
though.
this is like kind of really new for Star Trek. Like basically the ship that the main character is on is like they're still Federation, but they're kind of just bad guys. Not
Yeah.
bad guys,
well,
bad guys.
at,
but
at
like,
any rate, like I think that it's hard to tell with Star Trek. You have to give it some time to do its thing.
exactly. Yeah.
I already like it better than Enterprise.
Well,
What's
all
that
right.
word?
Hard.
Yeah, I mean, and Voyager was pretty uneven too. Even though I liked Voyager a lot too.
I liked some
I don't
of
know.
the characters in Voyager.
But if you
Yeah.
compare like any Star Trek season to Deep Space Nine, they're like not even similar. So
Mhm.
it's not like they can't try something new.
Oh yeah.
I just
well, it's-
think that we have to give it time to see how it does.
Yeah.
But
it's
I
not
don't
so
really
much
want to
about
get
tr-
another conversation about Star Trek. We talked about that for like
okay.
an hour last time. Or
Yeah.
week before last.
The next movie that I saw after War of the Planet of the Apes, which I thought was another very good movie, another great movie in this trilogy, and a great end to it, was Bride of Frankenstein. If y'all don't know about Bride of Frankenstein, it is generally considered the best of the original 1930s horror movies for good reason.
Okay.
It sounds like it's one of those that's just sort of like we've been talking about soulless cash grabs and whatever. It sounds like it's like the 1930s version of that, but it's very much the quintessential Frankenstein movie. It's the one that everyone parodies, and like when people think of Frankenstein, they're usually thinking about Bride of Frankenstein more so than the original.
When
Um,
I think of Frankenstein, I think of Young Frankenstein.
Exactly, and Young Frankenstein was the one that it parodied the most.
Right.
I've never seen
uh,
Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good. One of the things that really puts it apart from a lot of these other movies is, first off, the story and the writing. It's very much the most sympathetic character in this movie is
Okay,
actually the
I'm gonna
monster.
say right now, don't dance around spoiling Bride of fucking Frankenstein. Okay, just say it.
Okay, yeah, well,
'Cause
yeah,
if,
yeah,
if
yeah.
they haven't seen it at
as
this
much
point,
as much as you've seen this, I feel like this isn't super relevant, but whatever.
I don't know. I disagree. I sort of do feel like it, like if people haven't like seen it, that I don't kind of want to spoil the very end because it's really, really good.
yes.
It's very, very much about the monster. It's
Fair enough.
very,
I
very
just-
much about like his struggle with finding, finding belonging and who he is and how everyone hates him more so than like in the last movie he was just the monster and he killed people. Now it makes him a very emotional character. Another thing that really, really brings this movie together is the fact that, like we talked about, like with the Star Trek thing, how they completely misused Dutch angles. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure this movie created the proper way to use Dutch angles. Like,
I don't know.
there were a lot of really okay, yeah,
Yeah, because it was called Dutch angles because it was a film technique.
yeah.
In
Yeah.
Dutch filmmaking. So
Mm. Also, it might have been the Cabinet of Caligristo that the Cabinet of Dr. Calig, the original.
Cabinet of Caligula.
Yeah, the Cabinet of Caligula. The original Cabinet of Caligula, the silent German expressionist film that basically made German expressionist film that probably started it. But this one uses it really well, and it uses shadows really well in like the lighting and stuff. Let me explain.
Well, I think that all of those classic black and white movies did a really good job of creating a lot of contrast with their lights and shadows.
Oh, yeah,
They kind of had to.
Yeah, and I agree, but this one more so than the rest of them. Like, this one looks really, really good. Specifically in the, like, when they're creating the Bride of Frankenstein, the monster, they get really, really creative because, like, a lot of it's a little bit flat with some shadows, but this one, like, straight up big close-ups. Only this half of the face is lit, and it's constant blinking on this half, which like looks really, really expensive for a 1930s movie. It's really technically impressive, and of course the ending is incredible. I don't want to spoil the ending for people who haven't seen it because it's really good. Like, I wouldn't want to.
The movie is what, almost 100 years old.
In 20 years it will be 100 years old. Yes.
Yeah, but.
So 80 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But,
whatever.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, go watch Bride of Frankenstein. It's the best one. It's absolutely incredible. It is a terribly sad story about a monster just trying to find his place in the world. It's better than it has any right to be. It's one of those movies, but
that feels like a weird time to bring up Bride of Frankenstein. Other than it's kind of like.
It's Halloween,
October
man.
Right now, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, well, here's the thing: is I saw it, so I might as well just talk about it. And I personally, I don't like it. Like I don't like it as much as the Invisible Man, just because I love me some Invisible Man. But goddamn, is Bride of Frankenstein.
Well, I mean, we also saw Jason X this week, but do we really want to talk about that?
Well, here's the thing: Bride of Frankenstein
as bad as you guys led me to believe it would be.
The thing
is, it was bad. What are you talking about?
It was pretty damn bad.
It was not as bad as you guys led me to believe it would be. I didn't say it wasn't bad.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, well, here's the thing. I feel like I do want to bring up Bride of Frankenstein just because of the fact that it's like it's quintessential viewing if you want to like watch movie.
Okay.
It's fucking
Thel's pick for October, Bride of Frankenstein, I guess.
Watch Bride of fucking Frankenstein. Also, Invisible Man too.
I'm gonna talk about a Halloween movie I saw.
Okay.
It's called Happy Death Day.
Happy Death Day, huh?
Yeah. So, this was a movie that you can kind of get it from the title, was basically a reimagining of Groundhog Day.
Oh yeah.
It is literally.
Yeah, I did see a trailer for this movie.
It's okay, so the trailer actually made it look a lot worse than it was. It actually was pretty damn funny. The thing is it was hardly a horror movie though, because like it's not super threatening to have a person kill you over and over again. If you're just gonna wake up again, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I felt like the problem would have been, but
and it's not like there were no stakes. They kind of talk about that halfway through the movie, that they realize there are some stakes. It's not as simple as just doing it over and over again. But but it was almost more like an action movie than a horror movie. It wasn't really trying to be scary, or if it was, like subtly. And only in a couple of places, sort of, especially at the beginning. But after, like, the first couple deaths, it's kind of like, well, fuck it. You know, we'll try everything now at this point.
Right.
It was... so it wasn't a horror... Like, I would not classify it as a horror movie, but it was definitely, like, a really fun movie to watch. And it's kind of funny because they even directly... reference Groundhog Day at like towards like almost at the very end of the movie. There's like a little bit more after this, but almost at the very end of the movie, one of the characters starts asking the main character, "Hey, this whole weird situation reminds me of that old movie Groundhog Day," and he's like, and she's like, "What movie? I've never heard of it." And he's like, "Groundhog Day, with Bill Murray," and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So it's just, I don't know.
Oh my god.
But
I like it when they do that.
Yeah, it was like weirdly better than it had any right to be. I was pleasantly surprised at just how fun it was.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, if you want to see a definitely like horror movie, you should probably go see Stephen King's It. But if you want to see something fun that it like, especially if you're a wimp and don't really like horror movies, this is definitely like a fun one to see. So, yeah, I would recommend
All
it.
you wimpy non-horror movie likers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And especially lately, there haven't been that many, like... I feel like the horror genre has gotten really watered down the last years or so.
I don't know. I still feel like it's definitely on an upturn.
It
Got
is
a lot of
now.
good stuff.
I think that's the thing. I think it's been in such a huge lull for a long time that other than a few notable exceptions, it's like only now kind of coming back. I don't know.
Yeah, I blame the Babadook. It did good. Also, if you also want to watch a horror movie this year, Get Out.
Yeah, Get Out.
Get Out.
Bob.
If you want
that
to
was
watch a
this
horror
year?
movie, just get the fuck out of here. Screw you.
Get
You
Out
don't get to
was-
watch any horror
Was
movies.
You want
Get
to
Out-
watch a horror movie? Get the fuck out of here. We don't do that shit here. Get the fuck out of here.
Was Get Out this year?
Yeah, it was absolutely.
Was
Man,
it?
I totally
Yeah, straight
forgot.
up.
Could have.
I thought it was the end of last year, but
Nah, it was the beginning of this year.
Oh no! I'm thinking of the one that came out last year with the deaf guy. What's it called?
It was something close to that.
Yeah. It was
I
close
remember.
to Get Out. That's why I confused it.
but anyway, yeah, Get
Lights
Out.
Don't Breathe.
Oh.
That wasn't a horror movie. Well, actually, that kind of was a horror movie.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of was.
Yeah. And that was actually pretty good too. So Get Out.
Yeah,
Don't
Don't
Breathe. Was
Breathe.
good, but that was a couple years ago.
that was last year. Was Don't
Yeah.
Breathe.
That was last year, but like Witch.
Yeah.
A while ago, Babadook. Like, it's only now that we're kind of getting better stuff. And then there's some like throwback stuff like with Stranger Things. So
Yeah.
and which was
And-
last year too.
Which will be coming out with season 2
In
in about a half a month.
Yeah, I like really want to
I-
go back and watch through that, but I
Yeah.
don't know. And you know what's funny too is I saw Happy Death Day, and not that long ago I watched the most recent season of Dark Matter on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
And they had a Groundhog Day episode too. So it was I don't know,
That's
it was
funny.
just kind of funny. that...
I saw a little YouTube short that was
I probably know
like
what you're talking
Groundhog
about.
Day. Yeah, it was recommended to me on YouTube, and I was like, fuck, why not?
was it like
was
the reset button or something?
No. It was just a short little film about a black dude trying to go to work, and he kept getting shot by a cop over and over again.
Oh. Huh.
It was like, obviously it was like really funny. It felt like a Key and Peele sketch, but it wasn't, but it felt like one, and I don't know. I thought it was funny. And then finally, like, he breaks it by running into a black cop instead of a white cop.
Well, except that black cops kill more African Americans than white cops do.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The black cop
Anyway.
was like, "Hey man, how's it going?"
Anyway,
And he was like, "Oh, it's over."
there's another thing I watched. Loudmouth?
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth.
Is that what you were talking about? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Big Mouth.
The Netflix series.
This is a weird one for me. Cause I think I just finished Dark Matter, and I was still like wanting to watch something because I needed to stay up that day. And I saw this like advertisement for it, and I think it recommended it because of BoJack. So I watched about half of it in one sitting, and then the other half of it the next day.
Uh-huh.
But it was, I don't know, like the writing was pretty good, but you have to kind of go into it knowing that a lot of it is going to be like very kind of dirty
Raunchy?
sex jokes. Yeah, raunchy.
Yeah.
And
I saw like one clip from it, right? It was a scene where I don't even have the context of it, but just from context clues, I think the kid was at a sleepover and his imaginary friend showed up and encouraged him to masturbate next to his friend to a
okay,
clock.
so here's the thing. So, okay, the series is about puberty.
Okay.
Straight up. That is like 100% what it's about.
Right. I kind of gathered that.
And so the character the what was he called?
Big Mouth.
No, the monster. I forget the monster's name. I think it might just be
Flow.
It's like some weird
Scoopalagoopa Goop.
No, it's like some weird
penis.
Shut up. It's like some weird play on the word monster. It's like very subtly not the word monster, but I couldn't think of anything but monster when I think about that character.
Right.
He's played by Nick Grohl, who is known for Sausage Party, among other stuff.
Who's known for being the drummer in Nirvana and the lead singer.
Yeah. Nick Grohl, yeah. I remember him.
No. Don't even. This is gonna take forever if you keep on interrupting me with dumb jokes every 5 minutes.
Okay, go on.
So the show is principally about puberty, and that monster is basically a I don't know, quasi physical representation of puberty.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a female one that is for the female puberty for the female characters. And I think she has some weird version of the word monster too, but I think her name is like Munster or something because
Munster.
It's supposed to sound vaguely like menstruation, I think.
Oh. Okay.
Or menster or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's something weird like that. But the show is very raunchy, like very raunchy. Like every episode has a lot of sex jokes in it. And I think the final episode is like entirely about pornography. And kind of like sort of sex addiction or like porn addiction kind of as a result of like relationship problems. The show's interesting because it's very much about puberty in a way that it's like almost designed to be sort of like sex, like a pseudo sex ed, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and if it's got like the really raunchy humor that's like targeted specifically at the demographic who would need it.
It feels like its demographic should be about 15 to 20-year-old area.
Yeah. People who are like going through puberty or have just gone through puberty.
Yeah, it probably more like just gone through puberty because I think that a lot of parents would be hesitant to show a kid this kind of show at 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
But at like 15 it feels like it could be okay. But the thing is they say the F word like every fucking second. So
I mean, so does everybody else.
Well, I mean, yeah, and if it's like going for that 15 to 20 market, of course they're gonna say the F word.
I don't know though, because it feels like if it's supposed to be targeting that market, they might be a little bit more restrictive of it because most similar stuff is a little bit more restrictive than that. Even South Park doesn't use F words that much.
But South Park is on cable television, not
Netflix. Sure. But
that's
the thing though.
And that's also to draw them in. Are you telling me that like all these 15-year-olds ain't gonna
get
a thing like, oh, they say the fuck word every like 3 seconds?
No, I get it. Like I understand that, but all I'm saying is I think it might be a harder sell for some parents,
right?
To have it like that strong. Like right from the get-go, it is very strong about that, and it feels like it might detract from kind of the potential positives that could come out of a show like this.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of my weird feeling about it. I don't know if I would really recommend it to people who are like adults unless you really do like raunchy humor.
Or you don't know how puberty still works, like still.
Like
no, I'm pretty sure by the like by 20 or whatever, you're kind of already in the place where you sort of know like the effects of puberty, even some of the longer ongoing effects. You're probably pretty aware of it by 20, right?
Right.
What the fuck, my dick get hard? What
I
the
don't
fuck
get
is
it.
this?
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not just about like the physical things. It's about
Oh yeah.
uh
What the fuck, my emotions?
yeah.
Why
Why?
the fuck are my emotions getting hard?
Uh, and yeah, actually, the female character in it, I don't even remember. I'm so bad with names. I do not remember any of the characters' names. But
What the fuck, my pussy getting hard? That's not right. That's not supposed to happen.
no, I think in the second episode, the female character is wearing white shorts and has her period,
Oh no.
and
Fuck.
which is like a whole thing, right?
Bitch ain't gonna make that mistake again.
And then they introduce the female monster,
Aunt Flo.
who is actually like way more interesting than the male version of the monster.
Weird.
Good.
Because I don't know, like in a way, the female version, like the female representation of puberty, is like more devious a little bit and more like, I don't know, manipulative, whereas the male version is just like angry and screaming a lot. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Which kind of makes sense. I mean, that's kind of like, it follows some of the tropes about you know, like male and female puberty, right? Like how people react when they're going through that period of time. So the only other thing is, like, if you were to share it, it does show like nudity of children.
Right.
Children, like child nudity, which I don't know, is kind of a interesting thing. Not
Someone's
a lot.
gonna be like sent fucking muffins with tacks in them. Good.
It's like, and that's the other thing, like going into this, so I didn't hear anything about it going into it. So I checked I checked Rotten Tomatoes, and I think it only had like 5 reviews, but they were all hundreds. Or it has 100 on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, right now, because there's only 5 reviews and all of them are
Right.
positive. And then on Netflix it has an average rating of like 4. And I think the reason why it's 4 is because there's a lot of 5s and a lot of 1s.
Right.
Yeah, because that's the only thing you can rate.
You describing it to me now, like, it puts the scene that I saw in context.
Right.
Like, when I saw that scene, like, somebody just somebody at work was like, "Hey, have you watched Big Mouth?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Here, watch this. It's hilarious." And I was like, I watched it and I was like, I mean, the kid's masturbating to a cat clock on the wall. I mean, show of hands, we've all been there. But it was fun. But it was
Go
like,
on.
it wasn't. I don't know. I was like, this isn't like super funny, but I'll give him a courtesy laugh because he thinks. But like, now that I know that the show is like kind of, it wasn't just like some funny scene where unrelated shit is going on in the show and then he just masturbates to a clock. Like,
that is
like,
the
like
point of
that,
the show.
if that is the entire premise of the show, that makes it not. I don't even want to use the word forgivable. Like, if that's the point of the show, then that scene like has merit. It makes sense.
And I don't know, like it's not really an imaginary friend because the character transcends one character. Multiple
Right.
people can see that character,
Right.
but
okay.
only in specific circumstances. I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's not very like consistent.
Here? Oh, okay.
It's not very like consistent among who can see it and who can't. You kind of just have to assume that nobody can see it unless they're talking to them.
Right.
So I don't know. It kind of plays loose with the rules about how the series works consistently, and the monster character breaks the fourth wall a lot too. Specifically mentions Netflix like 3 or 4 times.
Good.
Yeah.
At one point says like looks at the camera and talks about how like it talks about a callback to the previous episode and then says, but you've probably seen it, you're binge watching it right now. I can't wait till the next episode where this happens.
Did it?
And yeah, it straight up did. So
Good.
like, and then there's one, yeah. So I don't know. Like, it's kind of, I think that if you walked into it, you could think that it's like it is very raunchy. Like, not to pull any punches, it's definitely raunchy. It's very like kind of gross intentionally.
Right.
I totally lost my train of thought. Forgot where I was going with it, but I don't know. Like, it's a hard thing to recommend to people because you'll either like, if you don't like that raunchy kind of stuff, then you'll hate it straight up. Yeah. But then it's kind of like, if you can tolerate, like, if you like it, of course, then you would like it. If you can tolerate the raunchy like humor, then you can probably there's probably like, it's entertaining enough to watch. I don't know though. It's really hard to just recommend to anybody because it's very like, I don't know how much I liked it even. So I don't know. Like, I kept on watching it though, and that's kind of the weird thing for me. I watched through the whole series, and it's 10 episodes, I think, and I watched it in 2 sittings.
Is it like, is it self-contained? Did it end, or is it like open for a next series or next season?
Kind of ended. It feels like they were probably aiming for 12 episodes, but only got 10. Okay. It felt like it kind of ended a little bit abruptly for me, but especially since the last episode was kind of like very dense compared to some of the previous ones. It feels like it should have been like 2 more episodes. It is sort of self-contained, but with a little bit of wiggle room open, because the 2 of the main characters, one is like at the start of the series has just started going through puberty. One of the other characters, the female character, was going through her side of puberty, and then there was this third character who is the main character's best friend, and he hadn't gone to he wasn't going through puberty, and then right at the end of the season, it kind of talks about him going into puberty. So it looks like it could go on for more, but I don't know whether or not it should. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It feels like it could end or could continue, and either would be fine. I'm not like, it's not like BoJack Horseman where after season 1 I was like, I have to watch more. I'm really interested in seeing more. This one is definitely kind of like, eh. And for me, I don't even really know why I liked it, why I was able to watch it all. Like, because it was never bad enough that I wanted to stop, per se, but it was never like good enough that I was like itching to watch more. I just kind of watched it.
Went through it, just to be like, well, I already got through half of it, might as well.
No, it wasn't even that. It was like, it's entertaining enough that I'm not bored. Okay. So I watched it. I don't know.
Right.
Oh, excuse me.
But yeah, like, it would be very easy to be put off from the art style and from the raunchiness of the humor, but I think that there is a decent amount of value to the show. So
yeah, even if just educational value for teens.
Yeah, right. But I mean, even then, like, I feel like the people who need it the most aren't the ones who are probably going to be greenlit to watch it, right?
Greenlit to watch it, sure, but like,
well, it's like 18 on Netflix. It is a 17 plus rated, so I don't know how the child filters work on Netflix, but
like, come over and watch it at my house. My parents don't have a child.
I don't know.
I don't know how to set it up.
So that's the thing about it, right? Probably the people who need it the most are the people who don't want to talk about their sex with their children and don't want their children to know about sex.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not going to be the ones who want to share it because it's very raunchy, very like, has curses in it and stuff. So I don't know. You know what I mean? It feels like if the parents can tolerate South Park, they might tolerate this show, but even then, it seems like this is a little bit further than even South Park, so I don't know.
But South Park is just like, gross and raunchy for the sake of it, whereas at least this has a reason for it.
Oh no, this definitely has moments where they're gross and raunchy for the sake of being gross and raunchy. Like don't get me wrong,
Okay.
like they go further than they need to. But
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, it seems like a lot of it is intentional, like right? Like a lot of it is about like there's a more than one occasion where the main character like comes in his pants. But that kind of has to do with the whole situation, right? So even though you're talking about like a kind of raunchy, gross thing, like haha, you came in your pants, like it's kind of still tied into what the story's saying. So
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. But yeah, maybe like it's not bad. Maybe like a partial recommendation if you can tolerate some of the raunchiness. Like I say, it might be worth watching for you.
Okay.
If you can't make it through the first episode, you're not gonna want to watch the rest.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, I'd say that for any show, but you know.
well, I mean, there's some shows that do warm up, right?
All
Yeah.
right.
But this
fair
one
enough,
is
yeah.
it's not like like BoJack Horseman, for instance.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It
That's
takes
actually a really
like
good
3
example.
or 4 episodes before it really starts to like you start to get the feeling of the show.
Yeah.
This one
Yeah.
is like the first episode the whole way through, and if you don't like the first episode, there's no reason to watch the rest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all I have to say about Big Mouth, though.
Okay.
Right, video games, right?
Yeah. So
The big one's Cuphead, right?
at
Is
least
there
do,
anything
like,
else we want to talk
majority
about?
of the first island or so on Cuphead?
Oh,
am I
you're cutting
freezing?
out.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh, you're back.
Are you back?
Okay, we're back. Yeah.
Well, let's start off with
Yeah, I
Cuphead,
didn't
because
hear
I think
anything
it-
you said.
Yeah.
I
So
said at this point, a majority of us have had
Yeah.
at least a chance to start Cuphead.
Yeah.
have you?
let's-
Is there anything else we want to talk about before Cuphead? Because I think Cuphead would make most sense before going for a break.
Actually, I kind of want to talk about the ending to Nier just a little bit.
Okay, well, why don't we touch on that then?
Okay, so me and Dalsson both got very different endings because which is really funny because I got sort of a happier ending, and my thinking process when going into this was more a we ride together, we die together thing, and Dalsson was
Questionably happy.
yeah, questionably happy, and Dalsson was more like, okay, this seems like the sensible thing to do.
Yeah. So it
which
was
is
like, I've been with him through the end, and I was like, okay, well, fuck that guy. Now.
yeah.
Now specifically.
Yeah, and it was weird that I was the one who got the happy ending because I took the most reckless choice. And
Yeah.
that's basically all I can say without spoiling anything. Let's move on to Cuphead.
Which you definitely don't want to.
That's
And
kinda
what I'm
funny.
gonna do is I'm
Hold
going
on,
to let, because oh okay. I'm gonna let you guys talk about it for a little bit because you guys have most recently played it and I talked about it a little bit before, so I'm going to be right back.
Okay. I want to touch on Warframe just really quick.
Okay.
They recently came out with a update called Plains of Eidolon, which adds it doesn't turn the game into an open world game. It just adds an area that's like an open world. So there's like this queuing area where you can take missions that are called bounties, which are like 3-stage missions where you go out into the plains, you have to go to a particular objective location and do maybe like eliminate all the enemies there or like hack a console
So
and
we're-
defend it or something like that. The bounties are pretty fun. The open world section has like a little day and night cycle, which I believe the day lasts a full hour and the nighttime lasts for 20 minutes. During the nighttime, there are things wandering around the plains called eidolons, which are like the new end game content. You basically have to use your Tenno operator.
You're gonna have to like cut back on a little bit of the jargon because I
Okay.
don't know any.
Yeah, okay. So the Tenno operator is another thing that you can unlock. When in Warframe you play as basically a remote controlled golem called a Warframe. And you are being controlled by something called a Tenno, which without story spoilers, eventually you go through the story and you get the ability to summon your Tenno, which is like essentially a human character with really strong psionic powers. So you can do a thing called transference, which allows the Tenno to basically teleport to where the Warframe is. The Warframe goes dead. It just kind of stands there, and because it's not being controlled. And then you can do things like use void energy, which are just special attacks, basically. The only way to damage these Eidolons, which are like the big bosses, is to use your operator's void energy attacks to break the shields. And then you would transfer back into your Warframe and do a second phase of the fight. It's a really neat concept, except that what everybody does is just use a mod called Shield Disruption to make it so that the Eidolons don't have those shields if there's a full party of it. And then you just basically skip the operator phase of the fight. But I don't know. I think that I think that the design behind it's really cool. Like a big, long, engaged boss fight where there are very specific things you have to do, which a lot of the bosses that I fought in Warframe in the past, like, didn't feel... They just kind of felt like damage sponges where you had to dodge attacks instead of, like, phased boss fights. So that's pretty neat. And the planes themselves are fun to explore. They have all those, you know, basic open world elements like fishing and mining and stuff. But the mining isn't like, go here, zap a thing, leave. It's like you have to go to an encampment where they're drilling and kill a bunch of them, destroy their drill, and then you can take what they were mining using your tools instead. It's interesting, it's neat, and it's nice to have a change from those, like, installation missions, you know, where you just kind of run through the level really as fast as you can. That was about it, but, I mean, I can talk about it a little more, but Thel's gone.
No, I'm not that interested in Warframe.
Yeah, I know. I guess, we could probably move on to Cuphead without
let's
Thel,
talk
since he
about
touched
Cuphead,
on it. Yeah. Cuphead is designed by the final boss of its own game, Satan.
You're being silly.
I
actually thought that it was a lot less hard than I thought it was going to be. The way that everybody was talking was that it was going to be like, I don't know, this impossibly hard game, but it's really not.
That's kind of something I wanted to talk about. It definitely ramps up in difficulty as you go on and on and on. Like,
well, sure, but
in the first island, there is.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
More than anything else, it kind of reminds me of Spelunky. How
so?
Because the whole point of Spelunky is that it's designed around it's designed around mastering the mechanics, not memorizing the level. And in Cuphead, like, there are some levels that you kind of do have to just learn how it, you know, kind of rolls. But at the same time, even the bosses, they very slightly alter, like, the speed of their projectiles and, like, the kind of the order of their phases. Not full on, but at least to some extent.
Like sometimes phase 1 will be one thing, and then sometimes phase 1 will be like a completely different thing, which definitely keeps you on your toes and keeps it from getting boring when you have to try over and over again to beat the boss.
Well, then what it means, though, ultimately, is that you have to learn how to play the game, not learn where everything is so you can avoid it, right?
Right, exactly.
And I don't know. Like, maybe it's just I was expecting to be worse at it than I thought I was. I was. I don't know. But I don't know. People were saying that they were dying a lot on the first boss, and I beat it in 2 tries or something. Yeah. So I don't know. Like,
the flower boss in particular is one that people always had a ton of trouble with, and admittedly, it took me 10 or 15 tries to beat. But I don't know, like, I feel like with this type of game, that's, I don't know, just kind of normal.
The sunflower one?
Yeah, agreed.
No, the sunflower.
Yeah, the sunflower one.
Yeah, that's the one I'm on right now, but I don't think, even that one, it's like, I've died a lot on it, but I don't feel like I don't feel like it's that hard, per se. It's just that I haven't been doing well enough. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It feels like it doesn't feel hard because the game's punishing. It feels hard because um it's your own fault that you're like losing. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Which is, I feel
And-
like the difference between good difficulty and dumb difficulty.
right,
Right.
It never really feels unfair or cheap. So I don't
Yeah.
I'm not frustrated playing it at all.
There are segments that are frustrating to me. There's one single segment in the game that was frustrating to me because I just could not do the controls properly. Like, and again, that's like now thinking about it, it's still probably user error. There's a level where you have to parry things to reverse gravity, and it will send an unavoidable attack on one floor, and you have to be on the opposite floor. But when you get to a point in that level, there's like a big wall, like a Metroid wall that you have to shoot the eye in the middle. And the eye is above you. So
Well,
you
I don't think you should really talk about the
couldn't-
specific part you're stuck on now, because of
Right.
course that's going to be what is like memorable to you. I don't know.
Yeah. But
Uh,
I like that was like the only point in the game. My point is, it was the only point in the game where the controls felt like they were screwing me over, and I just need to get better at doing the controls, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
don't
couldn't aim up and dodge the attacks at the same time while standing still is the only deal. And then like the next boss, it was one that it felt really hard, but I think it was just because like felt really unfair, but I think it was just because I was still coming off of that level that I didn't beat. I just skipped it.
Well,
So-
I don't know. Like I'm not that good at parrying yet, and
Yeah.
I did the mausoleum thing, so I'm good enough at it, but I don't think
Mhm.
those ones.
I am
that hard, but-
horrendous at parrying. I like to the point where the only relic or whatever, the only charm that I use is the auto parry one because I just can't press the A button fast enough.
That's
And
funny
you
because
had-
I saw that one and I was like, I'm not going to buy that one.
Yeah,
I
well-
got the one that lets you dash.
The
Oh,
the invisible dash.
Yeah.
It's the smoke bomb is incredible. The invisible dash, yeah. The auto parry is really nice because on your first jump, normally you have to time the parry, obviously. But with auto parry, your entire jump is a parry. So like the entire jumping animation is a parry. It's not like the start of your jump is a parry. It's if you're in the air, you will parry the first projectile. That's
Still,
why I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
but
mean, I think the nice thing
using
about
it-
this game, I think the nice thing about this game is it has options, right? Like you
Yeah.
have multiple different weapons you can try. You have different, I don't like special modifiers, and those all come with their own, like I don't know,
uses
heavy
and
moves or
Yeah.
whatever card,
Yeah.
the things that you spend cards on. So like there's a nice variety of things.
And then
Um,
some weapons make some bosses not trivial, but like significantly easier.
Yeah.
Like
Although there's,
roundabout
like-
on the frog.
I feel
dude
like
is
roundabout
the
is
special.
just. I feel like roundabout is just straight up better than every other. Than like almost every other one that I've tried so far. It's
I
just-
agree
and
that
it- and it
roundabout
might-
is
and-
really strong.
I've been
Yeah.
having like a lot of trouble on a lot of the bosses. And it's just because I haven't bought Roundabout. I bought in like every other gun.
It just
But
feels like
roundabout.
roundabout. There's no reason to take the standard shot over roundabout even.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Because roundabout just does more damage, and you just all you have to do is face the other way.
there's one map that I was doing. It was a run and gun
hmm
where they have those little bouncy balls in the tree with the woody woodpeckers and whatever.
hmm
And that one is made like so much easier by having roundabout, because even the front facing attack, even though it goes shorter, like because roundabout creates projectiles that last in the air longer, you pretty much just protect yourself by throwing crap around you at all times. So even when you're
kinda makes
using it
sense.
in front of you, it's still better than the normal attack.
I think that I like the regular shot better than roundabout on run and gun specifically, but usually in run and gun, I just use the shotgun because you basically just create a wall of bullets in front
Well,
of you.
sure. I mean, I also use that one, but it does so much less damage that in some situations it's bad.
Yeah.
Like the one specifically I was talking about, that the 3 like shot one doesn't kill anything fast enough in that particular map. So
yeah,
homing. Let's talk about homing.
homing
It's
is
worthless.
trash. Yeah,
Like,
homing is
if
kind
you're-
of bad. Well, actually, I wouldn't say complete trash because I feel like homing did help me a lot on the dragon boss.
I didn't buy homing.
But I feel like homing would okay. So for the dragon, the reason you like homing is because it will go down to the dragon, right?
Exactly.
You're better off using lobber because lobber shoots in front of you and then curves down for that particular boss. So if you're in a situation,
I don't want to talk about I don't want to get that specific into strategies to defeat particular bosses.
Right.
So I don't know.
But what I'm saying is, like, in general, if you're trying to use homing to hit something that's either above or below you, you're probably better off using a different type of gun.
Right. Yeah, I think homing is just for people who don't want to aim.
Right.
So, but that's the thing. That's
help me on that one that I was stuck on talking about aiming up.
Yeah, that's the thing about this game in general, though. I think that it gives you lots of concessions in where you're weakest. Like, if you're bad at parrying, you can get the thing that makes it auto parry for you.
Exactly.
If you're bad at, or if you don't really care about rapid fire, you can get the thing that makes you just do more damage.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, I think that it's very clever in how it has a baseline of incredible difficulty, but also gives you lots of ways to mitigate your own difficulty. Kind of like how we were talking with Nier Automata, where it has certain plugins, so if you're weak in a particular area, you can use a plugin that'll help you.
Right.
And I think that's, like, much better game design than having multiple levels of difficulty, because the more that you kind of pay attention to difficulty, the more holes in it you find. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially when there's tiered levels of difficulty, and
even
when
Cuphead
the tiered
has difficulty settings, but all the difficulty setting does, like in each stage you can select basic or regular.
Yeah, simple or regular. Yeah.
In simple mode, you don't get the boss's souls after you kill them, which is the whole point. But it's like if you are stuck on a particular phase of the boss, simple doesn't actually like make the phases easier, it just removes the phase.
does. So some of them
does
do.
It? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
depends on the boss, like especially later on. Yeah. The point is, it's like why even play simple? Yeah.
I've never done a simple, but I could see it being useful if you want to like practice particular things about a boss.
Well, also if you do beat it on simple, you can move on to like the run and gun stages, so you can get more money to get stuff for.
It'll open up the bridge
it'll
or
open,
whatever shortcut. Okay.
Yeah.
I found a path around.
Yeah, there's in the second.
Well, no, I found it on the first island.
Yeah, I found that too. But in the second stage, there's actually a character that's like, "Hey, there's a shortcut where you should find it for me," and then she gives you a coin if you find it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I took that shortcut not because I was trying to get away with something, but I found it on accident because I didn't know where to go.
I see.
And the nice thing about Cuphead that I liked about it a lot is that I thought, from everything I saw of it going into the game, I thought that it was linear. I thought that you just went from boss to boss, and then occasionally you would have a run and gun and whatever. But it's very nice that it kind of lets you take whatever path you want to, which I appreciated a lot. I actually ended up liking Cuphead way more than I thought I would. I went into Cuphead thinking that I wouldn't like it. Go ahead.
That's one of the things that you were saying about the non-linear aspect. That's one of the things that really helps me, because if I get stuck on a part of a game, it tends to frustrate me, and I just want to stop playing because I'm not going to get past it at the time that I'm playing, and when I come back to it, I immediately start thinking about the last time I played where I was stuck, and it's just frustrating. But if if I can just be like, okay, this fucking clown is an asshole and I don't want to fight him anymore, I can just stop fighting him and go fight the dragon instead.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
do the
really
same
nice.
thing. I stopped, like, because I didn't have I don't remember what skill I didn't have, but I was stuck on the little frog guys a little bit.
Yeah.
So after playing against them for a while, I was like, I'm bored of this. I'm gonna go do something else. And then I think I did. I don't even know. I think I just played a different boss for a while and then beat them and then came back to it. So I don't know. Like I like that. It's really nice because it lets you mitigate your boredom. It's not just like, my problem is I don't get frustrated. I get bored. So if I have to try the same boss over and over again, at a certain point, I'm just getting tired of it. So I really enjoy that I can go do something else and then come back to it. Like, I'm never one to rage quit. Like, I don't get so pissed off at something that I just stop playing. I'm like, I'll just keep going until I give up because I'm just tired of seeing the same thing over and over.
Right. Obviously, you two at least know that I used to rage quit a lot. Like, I still sometimes probably do things that would be.
Well, you did end your stream like 20 minutes early.
I ended my stream early. I ended my stream early, yeah. But it was because I was like, okay, I'm getting too frustrated to finish this, and I need to stop myself before it just, like, I just keep going and stop playing. Like,
and then hate the game.
Yeah, and then hate the game, exactly. It wasn't like, this is fucking stupid, and I closed it and I closed everything. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna stop for now and come back to it later.
Yeah, I'll probably come back to it too, because I actually liked it a lot better than I thought I would. And I played it up until you were about to stream, actually.
Yeah, I was like, hey buddy, quit playing my video games. I need to play my video games.
And I'm actually glad that you bought it and I could play it on yours, because I would never have bought Cuphead on my own.
Yeah.
Because I thought that I wouldn't like it. Kind of because, like, it seemed like a Super Meat Boy to me, in a way.
Right.
And I did not like Super Meat Boy, so...
Right. But whereas in Cuphead, the platforming is more of, like, a means to an end, as, like, a way to facilitate boss attacks and ways you dodge them, as opposed to, like,
Cuphead
the entire
feels...
game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing for me. Like, Cuphead feels less unfair to me than Meat Boy did.
Right.
Which, I'm not even sure why exactly, but it feels, when I die in Cuphead, it feels like I have not mastered mechanics well enough, but there is some room to make mistakes. You have like 3 lives or whatever. Yeah. What's really frustrating about Meat Boy is, like, the way that the levels are designed, you have to do it in a very specific way in one try.
Yeah. It was basically what we talked about at the beginning of this Cuphead discussion. In Meat Boy, you just have to memorize everything you have to do. That's all there is to it. In every level, you just have to memorize exactly the path you have to take. To the point where Meat Boy will mark out the paths that you have taken before with the blood or whatever.
Right.
So it's designed for you to memorize the levels, whereas Cuphead, you can still memorize attacks and, like, figure out, okay, this is what I need to do. I've been saying that out loud on my stream, like, okay, I need to specifically, like, I need to get behind this guy.
You can memorize strategies,
you can
not memorize.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You can't memorize
specific paths.
What to do. You can't, like, close your eyes and do all the right inputs. Whereas in Meat Boy, you could, in theory.
Right. So yeah, I actually like Cuphead way more than I thought I would.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. It reminds me of Spelunky more than anything else, like I was saying, which is kind of funny.
And of course, we're talking about it from a game standpoint, which it's a game, but I do want to just kind of mention the art style and the music. Like, it really, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. The aesthetic of the game is next level. And actually, I almost am more interested in buying the soundtrack than the game at this point.
The music is so good. Like, the genie level.
I could just put, like...
It's so good.
All of the bosses, I feel like I could just put the whole game soundtrack on, like, a shuffle and just listen to it while doing other stuff. Like,
I actually saw this this Twitter post. I don't remember if I mentioned this on the last podcast. I don't think I did. I saw this Twitter post where somebody was calling out the Cuphead designers because in like the
Are
menu
you talking
screen,
about the gloves or whatever?
yeah, in the menu screen, his
Oh,
gloves are yellow, his
yeah.
boots are white. In the overworld, his gloves are yellow and his boots are brown. And then like in game, his gloves are white and the boots are white, or something like that, right? It's like his gloves and boots are different colors at every screen. And they responded to it and said, "We're just calling back to this." And they posted like a picture of like two different pictures of Mickey Mouse, where one his gloves are yellow and one his gloves are white. So even like their inconsistencies are consistent with the
The aesthetic.
era of
Yeah.
cartooning.
Well,
yeah.
and here's the thing: just because of the fact that they put so much work into everything in this game, I believe that wasn't a mistake. Just because, I mean,
No,
like,
it's
No,
certainly
it seems too intentional to be unintentional.
like the devs even said it was on purpose.
Well, because it's not. It's not hard to maintain a consistent art style, really.
yeah,
It's not hard to
especially
maintain
with
a
like
consistent
glove
color scheme.
colors.
Yeah, like that's
It's not, and it's not like
there's
multiple,
no way
like,
that
a
could
shit
be
ton
an
of people
accident.
worked
And
on
like
this,
the reason that came about in old cartoons is because of like different people animating it, different studios or whatever.
Technicolor
but in
just
this,
doing
it's like,
something else.
yeah,
Yeah.
Technicolor doing something dumb. But in this, obviously, it's intentional because it's all
well
digital.
at this point in time, like
Yeah,
all
those
of
kinds
this,
of
there's
mistakes
no
don't
way you
happen.
could make that kind of mistake. Like
Yeah.
it would be harder to make that mistake than not.
Yeah.
So, and I just checked. The soundtrack for Cuphead is available both on Steam, so you could get through Steam if you wanted to do that.
Uh-huh.
Also on Bandcamp, which is nice because then
Good.
you can get it in FLAC. And stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's nice.
$10 either way, whichever way you go. And there's
And I would even
56
recommend
tracks. So
I would even recommend the soundtrack if it's like like if you have no interest in the game, I'd recommend the soundtrack. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know,
the soundtrack
there's
transcends the game, and
chill 24/7 homework radio.
No,
on
I
YouTube.
would no, because it's not that same kind of thing. Because the thing about it is, actually, it might be good for homework, but
yeah,
the thing is, soundtracks for video games are intentionally designed to
set mood.
well, but they're specifically designed to maintain a specific rhythm, so that you stay at a I don't know. It helps build in invention, or it helps maintain motivation.
Yeah,
Because it stays at a very predictable, specific rate, and it is very rhythmic. It helps you stay focused on whatever you're working on. So video game music is already recommended to people. Video game music in general is already recommended to people who need to focus on things for long periods of time. But I think Cuphead is almost better for that than most video game soundtracks, because it's basically all boss battles, right? Boss battle music in particular is climactic in a way, like very like it takes that idea of video game music and kind of puts it even further, because it increases the tempo. It has more I don't know, more intention for that.
right.
So I think Cuphead would be a great soundtrack for working on anything, but the fact that it's such a good soundtrack in the first place is just makes it really good.
I still have the song from like the very first level, the first run and gun level, stuck in my head. It still plays.
I turned my volume down a little bit. I should turn it back up, but
Yeah.
it started. I don't know. It started a little bit loud for me, and I think I might have overtuned it down. But yeah. So that's Cuphead. Is there anything else you want to say about it before we head to a break?
No, I think
actually, like you guys a little bit ago were talking about how it's really like not linear, and I completely agree. This is a very good choice, and it makes the game a lot more fun, and it gives the game a lot more variety. The problem that I like personally have with it is just that like I'll move on to stuff like so quick I won't even have like time to think. It's like, okay, I didn't beat that in like 2 tries. Fuck it, I'm gonna move on to the next one. That's just like a personal thing, and that like sort of leaves me a little bit behind the curve just because of that. It's like, okay, well, I did that. That was fun. Let's go try the genie again.
I feel like a lot of the bosses like
funny.
aren't like it's unreasonable to expect to beat it in 1 or 2 tries. Like,
Oh,
if
yeah,
you've
yeah,
never
yeah.
seen the stuff that they do before.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, all of the phases change, but
Yeah.
you'll probably see every single phase.
I
just because of how
basically-
the game is designed, and that's
I
really, really
basically
cool.
like once I get to the final phase of a boss, that's when I lock myself into that boss. I'm like, okay, I have reached the final phase. I know everything that's going to happen. Now it's going to be practicing.
Yeah.
Not even that's true though, because those frog bosses, depending on which role
That's
you get,
true, yeah.
completely changes. So
Yeah.
that was my problem. Is like I would get back to that same point and they would change it on me.
Yeah.
So and even then, like I'm almost the opposite. I want to get at least until the 3rd phase.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to see all the phases before I decide if I'm going to invest more time in that or not. So, I've actually probably spent more time trying to beat the run and gun stuff than I have the bosses, though. I actually probably have an easier time with the bosses.
Yeah. There was one run and gun level in the 2nd stage that everybody was like, this is so hard. This is fucking impossible. It was legitimately the only stage of the game that I beat on the 1st try. There were these.
I don't know. I was doing that Woody Woodpecker one over and over again.
Oh yeah.
But that was because I'm not that great at parrying, and I was needed to get all of the coins, and there's like a coin near the beginning that you have to parry to get. Well, except that you don't. There is a spot that you can jump and dash for.
Yeah, I sat there and tried to get another parry thing to roll at me, and I was like, "Fuck it, can I reach it?" And I did.
If you miss that first parry, it's gone. It never comes back. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I thought I had to parry, and I just restarted the level over and over again, and I finally got the parry and missed the coin, and I was like, could I? And I was like, wait a second, this is a slant. Can I get it? And I just jumped and dashed, and I was like, oh, okay, fuck it then.
Well, you have to do it at a very specific spot.
Yeah,
I ended up beating it, but with parrying it, but that took a lot of tries.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, was there anything else you wanted to say about Cuphead before we take a break?
I think we're good.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Cuphead.
Good. Cuphead, good.
Good.
Okay,
2 thumbs up.
Why don't we come back
Recommend it.
Why don't we come back at 5:30? That gives us 8 minutes. Okay, so we'll see you in a bit.
Okay. Bye.
We will return.
And we're back.
Hey,
Hello.
how you guys doing today?
Pretty damn good. You asked that when we started the podcast, Dalsson.
Yeah,
They've
now
been
we're
here
starting
for an hour. We know how they're doing, and we couldn't answer, and they couldn't answer that even if they tried. I'm so sorry for Dalson's ignorance, everyone.
So let's start with gaming news.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Because, as a good segue, Cuphead sells 1 million.
Get 'em, boys.
1 million, yeah, that's
1 million already in 2 weeks that it's been out.
I am really
That's
happy that this is
phenomenal.
making a shit ton of money just because of like how much fucking work went into it.
Yeah,
and
I'm not too surprised though, because this has been kind of like a thing that people have been talking about for years. This game has been on the like E3 and PAX circuit for years now.
Like
so.
at least the last 3 years. I think it first premiered in E3 at like 2015, and everyone went apeshit about it.
It was
And
delayed several times.
yeah, it was straight up was. But here's the thing: it lived up to the hype, which
right, yeah, which sometimes games just don't.
The last time I remember a game living up to this much hype was Black Mesa Source. Like I remember when that was like it's gonna come out.
I don't even know if it
2009.
had that much hype. I never even heard about it before it came out, and then all the hype came afterwards for me. I
Well,
mean, not
do-
like my personal hype. I mean, like the
Yeah.
hype that I was seeing for it.
Yeah.
I heard hype right from the beginning because I was seeing at least the people that I watched, who like pay attention to these games and stuff. They were talking about it like the first time it premiered. They were talking about, hey, we played this little indie game called Cuphead, so it's like this has been around forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, and not only that, but like when you saw the like the trailer that showed off the art style and how everything looked exactly like it was supposed to, and you heard about all of the animation techniques that they used, you're like, wow, gee willikers, this sure does look like a dandy time. I'm all up for that. And you know what? It sure was. Good work, guys. You did a good job. Everyone, like, you can't go anywhere, like, as far as, like, gaming and stuff is without seeing some stuff about Cuphead. Everyone fucking loves this game. People who ain't too good at video games, like you said, you didn't have that much problems with this. There are people out there who ain't the best at video games, who are having problems beating it, but absolutely adore the game. And
Yeah.
you know what? If that doesn't mean it's a great game, I don't know what the hell does.
Yeah, that's kind of the funny thing. Like, I was surprised at how well I was doing at it. Because I
Yeah.
was dying and stuff, but like,
Oh, yeah.
it's like part of the game, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, and it's really weird, the game at no point was advertised as being hard. The game was just advertised as being Cuphead. Here's with a bunch of big band music with all of
I mean, it
these,
was never advertised as hard, but literally since it was first revealed, people were talking about how hard it was. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then and it's just word of mouth got that it's like really, really tough. And I feel like that's worked in its favor. And I'm
Yeah.
happy about that.
Yeah. Because, like, whenever a Dark Souls game comes out,
Yeah, like Crash Bandicoot, my favorite Dark
whenever
Souls.
specifically a Dark Souls game comes out,
A Soulsborne
is
game
legit advertised as being hard.
being hard, yeah.
Whereas, and then when somebody makes a game that is similar to Dark Souls, the only draw of the game that they've made is it's hard, like Dark Souls. But
like
I
that-
don't know.
well, like
I
that-
mean, I think that I don't think that difficulty is advertised that often.
mhm.
It is a little bit with Dark Souls, but even with Dark Souls, they tend to advertise more about the world that they're talking about and like the environment.
Mhm.
They don't like
I can see that.
what you hear from other people talking about things like the various Soulsborne games is that they are hard, but
Yeah.
when like and reviewers and everyone talks about that, but in the actual marketing, usually it's just like a cinematic trailer of a dude fat rolling.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't
here's
know.
the thing. And he might be, and like specifically on like the not Dark Souls like games. We all played that one. I don't remember
Oh,
what the
the
hell it was
Surge?
called.
The
That's
Surge,
it. That's
yeah.
the one.
The
And I'm
whole
pretty sure
selling
that
point of the
was-
Surge was like,
Yeah,
this is hard like Dark Souls, and it was just because
was- fucking kind of boring.
because the game kind of fucking sucked, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like the combat,
I wouldn't say it wasn't that bad.
it wasn't bad, I guess, but like
yeah.
the reason it was hard was because the controls were so slow, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is only from my memory, but it was like you had slow controls, so when you were fighting an enemy, you could dodge it, make an attack, and that was it. But then the game started throwing two
Well, no,
enemies.
because even then, what weapons you used dictated how fast you went.
Yeah,
so
'cause,
there
like,
were
I was
plenty of
able to-
weapons that like there were like
Yes,
two daggers that were fast. So
Well, yeah,
Every
not only
single one
that,
of the
but-
fast weapons had like no stagger on them, so you'd have to like.
Well, sort of, yeah, but well, that's the thing. Like, I was charging into enemies and just killing them with a couple of combos, and then just ending them like that. Like, I didn't feel like I had to be careful. Like, whenever I was going like to the boss, I didn't feel like I had to be careful around any of these enemies. I just plow through them.
and again, I don't think they really advertise their difficulty. I'm looking at the Steam page and doesn't say anything about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I do feel like that's what I had heard about the game when it first came out.
Yeah,
or,
but again,
like,
I think that it's
well,
coming
no,
down
not-
to
not
word
through
of mouth. I think
that's
people
what I
are-
mean. that's not through word of mouth.
But
Like,
well,
like when we
I
started,
think-
like we were gonna do a review on it, and then I looked up trailers. It looked as though that's sort of what it was going.
Maybe it's just because at this point, when somebody says their game is like Dark Souls, what they mean is their game is really hard,
Yeah.
and that's
Well,
what they are.
But that's not what
referring
the
to,
Surge
I say.
was referring to. This because the Surge, like, whether or not you thought it was good or
Mhm.
interesting or whatever, it had level design reminiscent of Dark Souls. It had weapon designs like stamina and stuff reminiscent of Dark Souls. Like,
Yeah, the gameplay,
and
was
it
entirely
was
reminiscent.
hard, but only because it was hard in the same way that Dark Souls is hard. You have to learn patterns. You have to get to know your weapons. You need to know how to, like, parry and finish or whatever
Right.
mechanics the game has in it. So it's not like I don't feel like I was hearing that the Surge was difficult in a way that's different than just, Dark Souls is difficult because it's very intentional,
But
right?
of course,
Right.
the PC version of Dark Souls was marketed as the Prepare to Die edition,
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
which is straight up
I
marketing
that's
the
fair.
difficulty, yeah.
I guess that's fair, but that
Mm.
I don't know. Naming an edition, and that was like well after the game had originally come
yeah,
out.
like
so
the game
I
had
don't
already,
know.
I guess, kind of become.
Yeah, it sort of became
Like-
that.
like
And
the
I'm
meme
sitting
of
here looking at the
difficulty, yeah.
trailers for the Surge, and they don't mention difficulty at all.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah.
Alright.
So, although I'm not listening to the audio, obviously, but in all of the like big things that they say, oh, it's this thing, it's this thing, it's this thing. They're talking like most of the thing they seem to be most proud of is their level design.
Right.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Like in the same way that the Huntsman was proud of the maze.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on. that
video game.
was
would
a
like to
tangent off
introduce-
of Cuphead, but here we
I
go.
would like to introduce a callback to something we discussed last week:
Okay.
loot boxes.
Oh boy.
Now,
Oh,
over the past
okay, I guess we'll
week,
go into that next.
Well, did you want to go into it later? I just kind of wanted to touch on it real quick because we spent a long
Yeah, we can
time
go ahead
talking about it.
and go
Yeah,
into that.
Over the past week, there has been an outcry on social media and stuff to have the government regulate loot boxes as gambling.
Okay, that's a little bit
This
misleading.
is not exactly any ruling specifically, but the ESRB has stated
You're
that they
cutting
do
out
not
really
con-
bad, dude.
I am.
Yeah. Oh no, you good.
Internet work wise? Weird. Okay.
Oh, okay, now you're good.
Okay. So the ESRB has ruled that they do not consider loot boxes gambling because despite spending money for a random chance at things, you are guaranteed to receive something, which is not gambling. With gambling, you are not guaranteed to receive something. So the ESRB does not consider loot boxes gambling,
And
and
then-
they don't factor it into their rating system.
Recently, there's been a petition in the UK about loot boxes being considered gambling and whatever from the UK's perspective. But that's a little bit more recent than it hasn't been like a thing that people are lobbying the government this whole time. It's been this controversy this whole time about how
no, I
gamers
wouldn't-
feel about it or how people
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
about it. It's
That's
only
true.
now the new development is that ESRB does not believe that it's gambling because technically and from a legal standpoint it isn't.
Mm,
And there's also now this petition in the UK that's kind of coming up because it was citing the thing that happened in China recently where China wanted games with loot boxes to post statistics of what rarities are. But that actually had a little bit more to do, not with stuff like Overwatch, but more the mobile market, which is bigger there in China.
yeah.
But yeah, ESRB said that it's not gambling because technically it isn't. It is the equivalent of going to an arcade, winning tickets, and then trading tickets in for something.
Right.
Which is also considered not gambling, and it could be considered predatory against children. So, Whether or not you think it's gambling, I think it's going to be a very hard sell to the U.S. government in particular to do something about it.
Especially, yeah, definitely.
And I can see why the ESRB would take this position.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys feel about it?
I don't think that. I don't know. I think that loot boxes are kind of shitty depending on how they're implemented.
Yeah.
Like Mobaje games especially, but Mobaje games are just kind of boring. And the loot boxes...
What's Mobaje?
Mobaje is like a game where you have a bunch of characters and then you go to the roller and you have a chance at getting a really high level character that basically carries. It's a mobile game.
Gacha?
Yeah, gachapon.
Yeah. Okay.
Loot boxes like in Overwatch are like particularly not egregious because you can earn them in game pretty damn quickly.
And then they only affect cosmetics.
They only affect cosmetics, period. Things like Shadow of War, they're a little more egregious, but they're still like, I still think that like we covered this last week a lot, so I'm not going to go too far into it. I still think that I'm not going to buy Shadow of War at all. But I think that if somebody purchases Shadow of War and then just refuses to buy the loot boxes, like what does it matter then? If you don't buy the loot boxes, who cares? It sucks
I think the
that the game is trying to force people into it. But...
I think the problem is that nobody... No, like, 100% of players aren't going to spend money on loot boxes, period.
Yeah.
There are going to be people who don't spend money on loot boxes. The only problem is
never will.
If 99% of the people don't buy loot boxes and 1% of them spend thousands of dollars on loot boxes, then loot boxes will have still made its money.
Mm-hmm.
It will still have justified its position. So the only way you can really deal with it is to not buy the game in the first place, because then you're not also giving them the cost of entry, right?
Right.
And I think that for me, in addition to, and I talked about this a little bit last week too, so I'm just going to summarize my feelings about it, is I think that the crux of the issue for me is loot boxes are one thing when the game is designed as a platform, and another when the game is released as a sequel. And especially in a single player game. If it's like, if you added loot boxes to something like Shadow of War that had a narrative, and the loot boxes affected your progression through the narrative, that's different than a game like Overwatch, where you expect there only to be one Overwatch for, I don't know, let's say 10 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, there's no expectation of an Overwatch 2. What we expect is for those loot boxes to fund the future development of things like maps and characters.
And even more skins that you can get out of the loot boxes. That's
and
fine.
more skins and sprays and whatever. But that's different than something like Shadow of War, where you anticipate another Shadow of whatever game coming out in the next 2 to 4 years. So I think it's different. I think that is my underlying concern with how games like EA and Warner Brothers are trying to put loot boxes into their games.
Right.
If they made one more Forza game, and this was like their Forza game that they were going to continue to support in a major way for a long period of time, that would be different. But nobody expects it to be the last Forza game. They expect it to be the last Forza game for what, a year, 2 years at most? Like, it's so, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and here's another thing. One of the arguments that I've been seeing a lot is that basically a lot of people have the feeling that like loot boxes and Overwatch are setting a bad precedent for games that lead to stuff like this. And where I do think that people are going to get really, really, really horribly greedy with this sort of stuff, because that's what big companies do. I feel like Overwatch is setting a good precedent because they are doing it well, and that this is probably how it's going to be. Like, this is going to be the norm of things.
Here's my thing. Like, I think that it is the slippery slope argument. At this point, yes. What those people are saying is that Overwatch's implementation is a stepping stone for the next level of greed, which is what we're seeing now. The thing is, so yes, that is true. But I think that
Will the greed like
at
be
this
cyclical
point in
and continue?
time, there is such a large backlash against it in WWE, Forza, Shadow of War, and Star Wars Battlefront, that this is the point that like people are starting to turn on the idea. So
Yeah.
like it.
Loot
And it was the
boxes-
same thing with DLC, right? When DLC
Yeah.
was first getting going, like people put out bad, pointless DLC, and it took a while, but eventually people started creating a higher level of quality for DLC.
Yeah, I do
This
feel like
happened with-
DLC is a lot better than it was. Like, you know,
Yeah.
DLC used to be like gun packs and like loot box
And
stuff.
map packs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with season passes. Like
Yeah.
for a while, every game had a season pass, and now there are several companies that are starting to back off of season passes because it holds them to ransom. They're stuck in a problematic position.
Dalston, you died on Skype. Or Skype died on you.
Yeah, something happened. I'm gonna have to switch it in a second.
Oh
here.
no, did you die all the way? Oh no!
That's not good.
They're gonna kill me now. No, okay, no, he's back.
No, he's not.
No, no!
Okay.
No, they're gonna
okay.
kill.
Oh,
Oh, okay, no,
Okay, he's
alright.
back on.
The
Discord.
The Discord
Discord.
sound is back. Skype is
Still dead.
back.
My apologies.
Oh,
Did you
Mute
turn
yourself.
the
Mute
overlay?
yourself.
Okay.
And yes, I did. But
Yes, he
Okay.
did. Okay. Anyway,
so
I don't know how that happened.
yeah, make sure you mute yourself when you come back in
Yes.
because
I'm
it
sorry.
creates feedback.
Static.
No, feedback because it
Oh.
duplicates the voice. But man, I totally lost my train of thought.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably all. Oh yeah, season passes. Like they did it with season passes, and now companies are starting to back off season passes because it doesn't work in all situations. And like
Mhm.
sometimes season passes work fine, and sometimes season passes create problems and split their player base and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like I think the problem is not that loot boxes are inherently bad. I just think that like we are at the point where people are starting to implement them poorly, and we are reacting to it, which will lead to people cleaning up how they deal with loot boxes, and in a couple years maybe more games will have loot boxes, but it won't be as big of a deal.
Right.
Because
hopefully.
if
I mean,
companies kind of understand like what they can get away with, yes, they're gonna push the envelope, but it's on us to push back against it.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
necessarily know that buying or not buying Shadow of War will make a difference, but if nothing else, they kind of took the hit on their PR. So this is going to be something that affects how people feel about this game, which will affect how they purchase the next game. So
Yeah.
either they have to clean up what they're doing the next game, or less people will buy it next time.
And a lot of people like when they talk about it, and they've talked about like Overwatch, everyone always talks about like this as like the be all end all. And whenever something like this happens, like it's the be all end all of video game greed, and it's not. They're gonna do something else. Just give it 3 years, and we'll get something that's also again
this
really
is
really
like
bad.
this is, and I don't. The thing is, I don't even necessarily hold it against the companies because they're trying to find ways to increase their revenue. I understand that is part of business, but they need to be more smart about how they implement it. They need to like foresee the backlash before it happens. They need to like they're seeing what they can get away with, but I think that they should know
but the
ahead of
backlash,
time not to take advantage of their own customers.
backlash,
Fuck the customers, money.
backlash might hurt
Yeah.
people more than like hurt the company more than the money they're making. Like,
Go
Well,
ahead.
sure,
Like-
but companies like EA,
mhm.
Microsoft,
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers, they can
Which is
take
greedy
the hit.
in movies too.
They can take
Yeah.
the hit because the potential of getting away with it is to them seems more attractive than taking the hit from it not working. It's
Right.
to them it's worth the gamble because they won't be
they
impacted
shit out
that
so
hardly.
much stuff that
Yeah.
if people are like really mad at Shadow of War, then they still have fucking
And-
their movies or whatever.
and-
You know, like
The Mummy 2, starring Tom Cruise.
EA did just EA and Warner Brothers both did defend their feelings about loot boxes and whatever a little bit, and they talked about how like that these aren't all like not everything is in yet for the beta, and like there is more things. They're continually working on it, so we might see changes in something like Star Wars Battlefront before it happens. But the thing is, it's important to like have this backlash and
Yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
talk about it, because
right.
otherwise like whether or not it's good or bad, they would just continue doing it anyway, so whatever.
Yeah.
That's all I really want to talk about loot boxes. Do you have one more thing?
No, I don't-
Well, here's the thing. I'm a lot easier on loot boxes than I am even with DLC, just because of the fact that I paid for Overwatch, and that's it. I got the Symmetra Dragon skin,
Yeah, I've
and
never
I
spent
didn't have
money
to
on
pay
loot
fucking
boxes.
money for it,
Yeah.
which is that's
I
how I
wish,
feel.
I only wish that I think Overwatch's loot boxes are a little bit too expensive for what they are, but that's just my
I
own
agree.
value
Yeah.
proposition. So I haven't
Yeah.
spent any money on loot boxes, not because I don't like them, but because I think that what you're getting for them isn't very cost effective. So I don't know.
I didn't spend money because I want to spend money on a game once.
Well, I don't mind supporting developers past that, and I spent.
I don't.
I actually bought the Origins edition of Overwatch, so I spent $60 on it, and even then, I still feel like I've gotten enough gameplay out of that I wouldn't mind putting more money into it. The only thing is, I don't think that the value of what they're giving me for my money is as good as I'd like it to be. So
which is why you just don't buy it.
Yeah.
But some people do think that the value is good enough, and they buy it.
Yeah, like for instance, Flash Gen, he drops like $50 on loot boxes every big event. So because he likes
If he wants
Overwatch enough
that's fine.
to
Like,
you know,
I'm gonna.
feel that it's, like,
I
worth it
want
for
to
him.
keep playing Overwatch to try to get that Mei skin that I want. But if I don't, I have some disposable income. I might just throw $10 at it, get 5 loot boxes, and even if I don't get the Mei skin in 10 loot boxes, maybe I'll get enough money for it. You know, like
Overwatch Fun
it's
Box.
not. Yeah,
And
Overwatch
that's the
Fun
thing.
Box.
It
It's
gives
not.
you free. The loot boxes also give you Overwatch Fun Bucks, which you can use to buy like whatever skin you want.
And then again, I just wish that they would give you more money. If they're gonna drop you coins, I wish they would drop you enough to buy that equivalent rarity of something, not half. You have to get 2 of those drops to get 1 equivalent skin. That kind of feels
Right.
gross to me. But
that's
again,
like- well,
that's
that's
just
like
like
the
the
one that-
details. So
Yeah.
Well, and that's like rather than getting like a random skin that's that rarity that you might not want, versus like you now have enough money to buy whatever you want.
yeah, but I
Right.
in my mind, I would rather get a skin of that rarity that I don't want than half of that in coins.
Right.
that's fair
Half
enough.
of that doesn't feel enough to me.
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
know.
even just like bump it up to 2/3 of that or something.
Or
so you can
75% or something. It would feel
Yeah,
better.
Yeah, that
but-
way 1 drop won't buy you a skin, but 2 drops will buy you a skin, and you'll still have a little bit left.
Yeah. I
Or
don't
maybe
know.
just buy enough for like the like rarity below it or something.
That's actually less.
Oh, all right,
The
never mind.
rarity below 1,000 would be 250, and they drop you 500. So
Oh, okay, yeah, never mind that.
yeah.
So anyway, I do want to move on. So the next
Yeah.
thing is Nintendo is active. Nintendo
Nintendo.
is actually
Nintendo.
mature games. Nintendo seems to be actively encouraging developers of mature games to develop on Switch now.
Yeah, I heard about this.
So we were talking about this a while ago when they announced Doom. And
Yeah.
I was saying that they basically always have had mature games on their system. It's not like they actively discourage it. I think what's
The
different
Firstborn game
here
was
is
on
it
the
seems
NES.
like now they're actively encouraging it. And there's like, I pulled this from an article where they're specifically referencing different developers. Like for instance, the developer who made Galgun, which is the one where you shoot girls' clothes off. They were saying that they were surprised to find that Nintendo's like more willing to work with them than they thought. So it
Yeah.
seems like that Nintendo is actually trying to court these developers of mature rated games, which actually makes sense considering what they're trying to do is their big push on third party games, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
are you guys surprised
like-
by this? What do you think?
I don't feel very surprised at all. Like I don't think like you've said, Nintendo's never been straight up against mature games. It's
Well,
developers
Nintendo doesn't make mature games based off their character.
Yeah.
Like,
But even then, I don't know. You see fucking Splatoon recently. You see oh
arms.
God, what's it called?
Woo!
Arms. That's it. Arms.
No,
No,
more like
but,
butts. Oh boy. Anyway.
No, but they've never been against mature games. They just developers don't want to release mature games because developers feel that the target audience of a Nintendo console is
like families
or children, and so they just don't release them.
Right. So it's more about the developer developers I don't know, perspective on it rather than Nintendo themselves.
Right.
And then
although in the past though, like when we were talking about SNES era, then yes, like they intentionally for Mortal Kombat, for instance, they changed the blood to sweat, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So like there
Well, on
has
the
been
NES,
some of this
again.
a long time. Well, the SNES. There
on
there
the
has
NES,
been
that was the
this.
first porn game. Straight up.
That was
No.
the Genesis.
No, the Atari.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're
There's a
completely
Custer's
right.
Revenge.
Custer's
Custer's
there were a
Revenge,
couple.
that's it.
There were a couple on
And
the
that one was
Atari.
even worse because you were like raping like
women up-
indigenous peoples.
Yeah,
Well,
tied
hey,
up
she
Indian
it could
women.
have been
Yeah,
completely
Indian
consensual.
women.
We don't know because the pixels.
No,
She
it
was
wasn't.
tied
It
up
said-
to a cactus.
Yeah, she was
Oh,
tied
okay.
up. And
Oh, well, I don't think she was tied up. I think she was just standing there. Anyway, it's hard to tell.
whatever. The point is, no, it is not the first quote unquote pornographic game.
Straight up, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right.
But
you're right.
like so
Atari did.
it's always been about developers' perspective, and this isn't just like the rating aspect of it. This is just like putting games on it in general, right?
Yeah.
Third-party developers don't know whether or not it's worth the effort of porting their game to a console if they don't see that their target
audience.
demographic isn't there.
Yeah.
The difference with the Switch is the portable aspect, I think, because it's one thing to have a game on the PS4 or the Xbox, but it's another to have it on the Switch where you can take it portably. So people are more likely to buy a second copy of a game on the Switch than they would on an Xbox versus the PlayStation, right?
Right.
If they already have it on the PlayStation, there's no reason to buy
You're
it on
not
the
gonna
Xbox.
buy it on the Xbox, but you might buy
unless
it on
all
the
their friends are
Switch.
there or something. Like
Yeah.
some
Like,
very
I
narrow
own-
cases. But
I own Shovel Knight on PC and I own it on the Switch because I wanted to take Shovel Knight with me.
right,
Yeah.
and then Sonic. Although I think you ended up not buying it on the PC, but you were considering buying it on the PC and the Switch. Like,
Yeah.
so there, I think that the Switch introduces a unique value proposition to developers that Nintendo kind of never has really had before.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it.
Mm-hmm. And so developers are like, "Hey, can we like try putting this Senran Kagura game on where you use your controllers to rub girls' nipples?" And Nintendo's like, "Yeah, fuck it, I don't care."
Well, I mean, I guess we'll see where this shakes out, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Star Control 2.
Is getting a sequel after
Control
25
3.
fucking years.
I never played Star Control, have no information about it whatsoever, so why don't you tell me about it, Dalsson?
Star Control is like a space
Game.
RPG? Question mark. Basically, it's not like a flight simulator or anything. You just kind of go to different nodes in a galaxy and you meet different aliens, and it's kind of like a diplomacy kind of game. Maybe.
Well, that might be a diplomacy sim. It's just because it's not a flight sim, it might still be a sim of some sort, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I mean, okay. Here's the thing. This was a game that was in MS DOS.
Yeah.
I played it. I didn't play it a ton. I never got very far in it because I thought it was kind of boring. I can see, but that's because I don't like that style of game. I think it's really, I just kind of put this in here because I thought it was really interesting that after 25 years, they were making a sequel to an MS-DOS game that was like a alien diplomacy simulator. And like you still sometimes see references to Star Control 2 and stuff that like most people don't even know their references to Star Control 2, like alien designs and stuff. I think like Day of the Tentacle was actually the tentacle was an alien from Star Control 2. So like there's stuff like that people don't even know it was from this game, and they're making a sequel to this game after 25 years. I just thought it was really neat. And
that's
really waiting for that Treasure Math Storm sequel. I'm super excited if they're remaking MS-DOS
give me that Math Blaster sequel. That actually doesn't surprise me as much, just because that's what like Elite Dangerous is. It's a sequel to like 3 MS-DOS games that were before it. It's the 4 Elite games. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And then also we were talking about Doom. Doom was originally an MS-DOS game as well.
True. Yeah, alright, yeah, that is so true. Like, fair enough.
I mean, in this day and age, Doom is a fucking
every
TI-80 calculator game.
I think that the new Doom was only like the 4th Doom game, right?
Yeah, it was the only yeah.
So and then Wolfenstein was also a DOS game, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Wolfenstein was before Doom. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Doom was technically the 5th one if you technically count the N64 one.
Well, yeah,
which was almost a different game.
Which are all based off of a game that was a game that also inspired the Elder Scrolls game.
Really?
No, there's this game, I forget what it's called. It's probably one of the most influential games of all time because it simultaneously inspired Elder Scrolls and Doom.
I see.
Because it was pseudo first person.
Oh crap! I know exactly which one you're talking about. It's funny. It was like John Carmack worked on that one too while he was.
No, he worked on. I don't know whether or not John Carmack worked on it, but I did hear that John Carmack worked on Doom because he took that idea and wanted to make a better engine for first person, which is why he did Doom.
Yeah. So, oh god, I don't remember what it is either, but I know exactly what game you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm seeing if I can find it real fast.
Yeah. It was like a sequel to a game too. Like there was like already a big fantasy thing on MS-DOS.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it was like it's one of the most influential games of all time, and like nobody's ever heard of it hardly.
All I'm really finding is how all the fucking no, this is dumb. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
How Doom, Elder Scrolls, and Wolfenstein can fit into the same universe because of Elder Scrolls lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
but that's all I'm really seeing. I can't find the game that was the precursor to Elder Scrolls and Doom.
Could Doom fit in the Cuphead universe? They both have Satan.
That's true. I don't know if Doom does, though, actually.
Yeah, it's like, it's like a wall. Well, John Carmack is Satan. You have to click behind the wall, and then you find him. He says,
"You have to drive
it's me, the final boss of Doom, John Carmack." He says that backwards. You gotta shoot him with missiles until he dies.
Shoot him until he dies.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the strategy in Cuphead. I can see it. Shoot him until he dies.
Does Cuphead and Doom am real?
Oh.
God, I can't find the name of that game.
Yeah. God. It's like on the tip of my tongue, too.
It wasn't Ultima, was it?
No.
I don't think it was.
No. Ultima was a JRPG.
Yeah.
Which we've gotten into that argument. I'm not going to go into it. You know
Ultima.
what I mean by that.
No, it wasn't Ultima.
Yeah.
God, I forget what.
God,
oh, well.
Same. Anyway, what else do we got?
Let's see.
Humble.
Oh, yeah.
So Humble was acquired by IGN. Yes, that, like, Humble Bundle. Which raises some concerns about, the separation of, like, a game publisher and a storefront and a game news website, right? Because it creates a lot of conflicts of interest.
Well, if IGN just refrains from reviewing humble published games,
Well, that's the
I don't
thing.
see-
Are they going to? Like, are they going to
No.
stop reviewing, like, A Hat in Time, which is, like, the most recent major game published by Humble? Like,
No,
so
they're not.
so
know
we're
they're
kind of in
not.
this weird position, right? Like, where a game news outlet now owns a game publisher. This is like the opposite of what you like would think would happen, right? You would think that a game publisher would buy a review outlet. But this is
Right.
like the reverse, which is even more curious, right?
Mhm.
So and even if they reviewed their own, like, reviewed games published by Humble, it still looks bad. Whether or not they're actually influenced, or like there is like completely separation between the two companies as a whole, like, it still looks weird, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You gotta drink your Mountain Dew and eat your Doritos, guys. Because Halo 4 is coming.
So I don't know, like, it kind of creates a situation where, does that mean IGN is going to start pointing links towards Humble now? Like, what does this mean? So I guess we'll just see what happens, but it seems like a very interesting kind of position for both IGN and Humble to be in.
Humble, yeah. I, of course, expect the worst.
Of course you do. You always expect the worst. You're a pessimist.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a
I'm an optimist unless it comes to, like, corporations. Then I'm a pessimist.
I don't know. I would say that I'm a realist, which isn't necessarily a pessimist.
The glass is half empty if you're drinking it, but it's half full if you're getting a new drink.
The glass is half empty if it's being sold to you.
Okay.
So anyway, like, I don't know. This is an interesting scenario. I guess we'll find out what happens with it. But I mean, IGN doesn't have a huge. IGN doesn't have the best reputation anyway.
Yeah.
And really, IGN is owned by a greater holding company. So this is like the holding company wanted to buy Humble as their charity arm.
Uh-huh.
So this is kind of like, even then it's sort of like IGN are parallel companies, or IGN and Humble are parallel companies owned by the same holding company. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
The whole thing is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a strange situation, and I don't know if there's been a situation like this before, so...
I don't think there has been. I think this is a new, like, new thing.
Yeah.
So whatever. I guess
We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Or we won't, depending on how good they are at hiding it.
Hiding their greed.
Yeah, like, that's the other
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah,
So-
I guess. Like, if they...
Well, I feel like IGN in particular is really bad at that.
Well, but they aren't the ones who were caught. Like, they've never been caught for corruption.
Yeah. fair
Whereas GameSpot has. GameSpot did that Kane
Yeah.
and Lynch thing, which
enough. Yeah.
is what pissed off Jeff Gerstmann, who went on to found Giant Bomb because of that.
Yeah.
Right.
So IGN, as much of the butt of the joke it is about how highly they score stuff, like,
Ignorance.
Yeah.
well, no,
Their
not
general
ignorant.
ignorance of video games.
No, they're not the ones that
I
are
mean,
considered.
that's their comments. That's their saying.
Oh yeah.
No, they're
That's
the
what-
ones that are say they rate things more highly than they should.
Oh yeah, that too.
But that's just, that could just be like perception, because
Mhm.
IGN is the one who put out the Cuphead video that showed the first gameplay of him beating it. So it's not like
Yeah.
the same. It's, I don't know. I don't think people see IGN as being incompetent.
No, yeah.
They see
Any
IGN
more than
like,
just
not like
general-
Kotaku, right?
I personally don't feel... I feel Kotaku is like the real butt of,
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot
of
of jokes,
video
yeah.
game journalism jokes, but I don't feel this way, but I was referring to the you can't spell ignorant, or you can't spell IGN without ignorant,
or you can't spell ignorant without IGN.
Yeah, that. I don't feel that way. I feel like out of a bunch of them, IGN is actually kind of one of the decent ones. IGN, Polygon, Giant Bomb. They're not all that. They're not.
But
that
I
bad.
think
don't know.
IGN is still gets a lot of shit because it does rate things too highly in a lot of people's points of view.
Yeah.
So
a lot of times, like when you read an IGN review, it's like, this game was fucking awesome.
I don't know about that, but
and that's.
I think it just does come down to the score. People joke about IGN 11 out of 10, like that is the joke.
Or
I don't think people read enough of IGN to actually like have a thing saying that the IGN is like talking stuff up. I think they are purely looking at the score. So I don't know.
Well, and not only that, it's also like with all of like the Call of Duty games, for instance. IGN always gives like the Call of Duty and the Madden games like pretty high scores, even though it's the same fucking thing every year. And like, when it was getting really, really egregious a couple of years ago.
That's hard to say though, because if people who play only Madden games play the new one, then they would be the best to score that, right?
Right.
So from the outside looking in, you can say, oh, it's the same thing, and they are just putting out another game. But I think it's a different perspective if you're like a person who plays all of the Madden games every year. I think it's different.
I feel like if like you're the kind of person who just plays Madden and Call of Duty, you shouldn't be reviewing video games at all.
Unless
I think you should be kept away from
but
writing.
No, but if all you're doing is reviewing Madden games, like sports games, because those are the games you play, then you are exactly the person who should be reviewing those games.
Yeah, but you don't have like context on other games because you're not playing them.
But I don't think that matters. I don't think that matters.
I do. Like, it absolutely does. Like looking at all of the games entirely as a medium is kind of important when you're a reviewer.
But I think it serves the reader best if they're getting a perspective of a person who likes that kind of game.
Right.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Like, if someone only watches Michael Bay movies, I don't think that they should review movies.
But
if they only reviewed Michael Bay movies, though, it might be different.
But still, they should.
And people.
I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit harder to compare movie reviewing and music reviewing to game reviews. I think it's different.
If they only read like really trashy novels,
or even novels, I think it's different. Because there's so much more time investment involved in video game reviewing.
Some novels are really, really thick and take like.
No, I don't mean in terms of. I don't mean in terms of like actual time. I mean in terms of investment in playing the game. You have to get past the mechanics too. I don't know.
If you have a niche of video games that you like to review, and if you have a niche of video games that you like to play, then you're better to review that niche of video games than somebody who reviews all video games.
Oh yeah, but like only those video games? You don't have context.
If you do want to talk about something like that, you might say a person who only reviews horror movies. They don't have the full scope of every other genre of movie, but they only review horror movies.
Well, no, but they probably watch other movies. That's what I'm saying. Like, if they only play, like, Call of Duty and the football games,
I think it's the same thing. Maybe they don't watch other movies. Maybe they only watch horror movies because that's the only genre they like. I would not say their perspective. No, I don't think their perspective would be any less valuable.
In our chat, we got a good point here. If somebody only plays Call of Duty games, then of course they like those games. Their review is going to be biased to think it's good.
The thing is, though, everyone has bias, though.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Who are you serving to review a game, though? Like,
okay,
if you're interested enough to look at a review, who is your demographic, your target for that review? Are you targeting someone who is not interested in sports games, or you're interested in someone who's interested in sports games?
If somebody who plays all video games, I'm playing both sides of the field here. If somebody who reviews all video games reviews a Madden game. They're not going to like it as much. And they're going to say, well, this wasn't great. But if somebody who only plays Madden games wants to know if the new Madden
pull
is
it
up
out
to
a little
snuff.
bit. Let's say they only play sports games.
Okay, if somebody who only plays sports game wants to know if the new Madden is as good as the new FIFA game or the new basketball, whatever, then they're gonna go look for a review of it, or they're more likely to go look for a review. Like, I would never even, like, if I saw a review for Madden, I would never even click on it. I already know I'm not interested in Madden. But if I were interested in Madden, and then I click on a review for the Madden game, then I'm like, okay, what I want to know is, I like Madden, I like FIFA. What I want to know is this game going to be up to snuff of the last installment in the series? Is it going to be up to snuff of the other sports games that are out right now? Whereas if I'm going to read a review of a new movie that came out, if I'm going to read a review of Transformers, like, everybody's going to be slamming it. Of course they are. But it's not like I only watch Transformers movies, whereas some people do only play Madden games. They only play Call of Duty games, and that's, I feel, is an important perspective for some people to have. Like, I don't think it's important for reviewers to have necessarily specifically, but there are people who only are interested in those games, and if they want to know if other people who are interested in those games are interested in them, then that's the person.
Well, here's the thing: those people can just go to the forums, like the Madden forums, where all of the people are talking about how much they like Madden and that these are the only things. I'm talking about professional reviewers.
No, but what I'm saying is they
paid for this. And your target audience. Let's say it's just John Doe, regular man who doesn't know whether or not he should buy Madden or Nier Automata, and you're rating them on the same scale. Nier Automata is a game that not only blends an incredible story with gameplay, but other different types of gameplay.
But that's the thing. I still think that so people are biased no matter what, right?
Right.
You can't separate that. So that's kind of why review scores in general are broken.
A little bit,
on a 10-point scale, the only ones that are ever used are 5 through 10 or 1, right?
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
So the review scores barely mean anything anyway. And what you want to hear, the kind of person who is going to read a Madden review is the person who is interested enough in what people who are reviewing it have to say about it that they don't just buy it without looking at it, right?
Right.
They're educated enough to want to learn about that review or learn about that game before they buy it.
Right.
But they want, ideally, you want the perspective of someone who knows enough about that genre to give you a good understanding of what it is compared to other games in that genre and other just general stuff about sports.
Oh yeah, well no. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that not the person. I'm saying the person who should be reviewing it is someone who should have also played those games as well as other games.
I just don't think
have played.
I don't think that you can say that one person has I don't think. I think it's too restrictive to say that video game reviewers should cross all genre lines. Or even most genre lines.
I mean, they're paid for it. This is what they do professionally. This is their job.
But I don't think that it is a fair thing to ask someone, even who's paid for it, to review every genre, even the ones they don't like.
I mean, they should have a wide scope of it. I mean, there was a thing. It was talking about how Cuphead was the elitist bullshit, but if anyone should be elitist, it should be the reviewers. They're the ones who should have a really, really good grasp of what this medium is.
But video games take too much time to expect a reviewer to have played every major game. That's just too much.
You can tell it in the very first playthrough or even the first couple of minutes of Nier Automata that it's so much different and has so much more going on than so many other games. it's crazy. And you compare that to like Madden, and it's just like any Madden game. Even if you've
But
never
that's
played
the
a Madden
thing.
game,
You
there's
don't
so much
know
more in
every
this.
Madden game, though, Thel. Like, you don't know. Like, let's look at it. Let's turn
The
this
last
around.
Madden game that I played was Madden like 1997.
Let's turn this around. Do you think your perspective on something like Nier Automata is lessened by having never played the latest Madden game, the latest NFL game, or
Probably,
latest?
honestly, and that's why I don't do this professionally. Like, I don't feel like I'd be able to talk about video.
But what
games
I'm saying
professionally,
is
and that's why I talk about
nobody.
movies more.
What I'm saying is nobody is going to be able to have a, even if they're paid for it, like the ability to, like, play and know that much about every single genre. It's just impossible.
It's the way of video games as a medium. When you go to watch a movie, it's going to take you 2.5 hours per movie. Period. That's it. That's all it takes to watch a movie.
But again, with books, it takes like sometimes 15 hours to read it, and there
Okay.
are people who have really, really good grasps of literature.
But-
and there have been people since like literary criticism started.
But a
Like,
book
it's-
is
it's
still it's not a set amount of time, but it is a set thing. The book is already written there for you, and you read through the whole thing. In a video game, do you think that somebody who got to the end of 2B's playthrough in Nier and said, "Oh, that was the end of the game," would have the same perspective as somebody who unlocked all 5 of the basic endings, saw everything that the game had to offer? No.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Even
But
then,
it would
even
take-
then, you could see exactly why like this game is better than other games.
But
Like, even at
I mean,
that
but that's
point,
not what we're
without
arguing
finishing
about.
it.
But when
Is
you
it not?
when you watch it would be the same thing as watching half of a movie. You watch the first half of a movie and say, "Oh, this movie's better than other movies." You can't really do that.
Sometimes you can. Like, I would
Sometimes
say
you-
with Blade
sometimes you-
Runner.
Sure,
uh,
sometimes you can,
can-
but like, if we talk about just this year, people would have had to put hundreds of hours into Zelda, hundreds of hours into Persona, hundreds of hours into Nier. Like, this is too much. Even for whatever reviewers you want to talk about, like paid reviewers or whatever. Like, reviewers have to have specific genres that they're, like, they know about. You can't, like, maybe I'll agree with you that someone who only plays sports games would have a, like, lesser perspective than other people, but I don't think that it's fair to say that every reviewer should be playing every major game. It just cannot work that way.
Well, no, I'm just saying have a general idea. I'm not saying everyone. Like, I was never
don't know,
saying
you
everyone.
kind of were.
No. I'm saying just have a general idea about video games as a whole. Have played a bunch of classic games that have made the medium what it is. Have played
No, but
at
but you were
least-
saying that someone who only plays sports games, their
Oh,
idea of what
only
the
plays
number
sports
is
games.
so much lessened by them having not sunk hundreds of hours into other games.
Well, yeah, like if they only play sports games and haven't played like Doom or Mario or
I
something.
mean, but
Like that
maybe they've
person who
dabbled
had,
or maybe they haven't, but their perspective on that genre of games is more valuable than someone who even plays a wider range of games, because they are best equipped to know how people who are similar to their tastes would know about that game.
I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, yeah, but like
It's still
on the same like IGN scoreboard. What they'd still be like putting something else on, which I suppose maybe is my problem with just like having multiple reviewers for like one thing. Maybe just having like a sports reviewer, it would be fine. But I feel like video game reviewers should have a general good idea of games as a whole. And I'm not saying play every game that comes out like every year, but like because like movie reviews.
I mean, that's kind of what it sounded like you were saying, though, Phil.
Well, yeah, I did. That wasn't what I meant at all. Like movie reviewers don't review every movie every year. Like a lot of them, there are a bunch that they just don't touch because it's like, okay, this is like if it's an indie movie that's like really bad, or you know, it'll get a couple of reviews and just saying what everyone else is saying. Okay, it's really bad, whatever, and people will just move on. but yeah, it's like there. I'm not saying every single game, but a general scope of games, not just one genre.
I mean, there's like kind of no reason to continue on this because I think that our perspectives are a little bit I don't know, stuck where
In
we're
the end,
talking.
I feel
I
that
do
video game-
admit that you do have to have a little bit wider of scope than just sports games. But
Yeah. And
I
that's
think
basically
that
what-
if the majority of what you do is sports games, then that's like
Well,
fine.
and even if it's like stuff like if you're putting up a like the new Forza game against like an indie racing game that came out that was like really well made, and it's like the Forza game isn't like as good as this indie game or something. And I'm
Here's
just talking about the people who just play
here
the Madden games or just play.
But
the
I think the thing is you're pretending like the person reviewing the game is the quintessential Madden Call of Duty and that's only all they play. But that's not exactly what I was saying because as a reviewer the base bar of entry is at least to understand what's happening in the industry. So
right.
and that is true. I do feel like
So-
that's a good base
Yeah,
bar.
yeah. Here's a good question in our chat here. What defines the general scope of games? Like when you define the general scope of movies, you're thinking, okay, at least a decent understanding of what's happening in the industry, like Saine said, and you watch a decent variety of genres in movies. But in with games, let's say that you want to get a good feel for a wide variety of genres. So you would want to play something like you would want to play Contra, you'd want to play Mario, you'd want to play Devil May Cry, you'd want to play like there's so many different genres.
Yeah, we should keep the specifics to more around now because I think that'd be more easy to compare than like all of the major key landmarks throughout the years. Because I've never played certain landmark games. I've never played Mario 64, which is considered like a classic. I've never played Ocarina of Time, which is also considered a classic. But I'd still say that my scope of games is enough that I kind of know what I'm talking about when I compare certain games. So I don't know.
Right.
But I don't know. I think we've talked enough about this. I think that I don't know. I think some specialization makes sense, but you do want to have at least some knowledge of just what's happening in the industry and maybe play a certain number of games outside of what you're comfortable with just because you get a better idea. Like for instance, I'm not super like Cuphead is not a game that is super in my wheelhouse, but I think that I have enough to say about a game like Cuphead that I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it for gaming news. That was actually our last gaming news thing. So let's go over movies, and then we should try to cut it a little bit.
Yeah.
We've been going for about 2.5 hours now.
Yeah.
I'll try to go through this quick. Most of the stuff is from last week. First thing we're gonna talk about is the Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce thing. So I'm gonna fucking.
That's kind of old news by now. But...
It is, and I'm fine. I'm sad that we didn't get into it last week, but I do want to touch on it a little bit. So I'm just gonna fucking lay all my cards out on the table here. I'll be 100% honest. People would probably, if we get really big at some point, people are going to find out this shit at some point. So I'm just going to say it right now and get ahead of the curve. Back in the fucking day, I was kind of a huge brony. I have fucking embarrassing ass fan fictions that are fucking out there that you can find. And I won't want you to look for them because I'm embarrassed.
But now that you've said it, they will.
I mean, yeah, it was going to happen anyway.
You can find him at FimFiction / Thel McLarge.
You can find them on you can actually find them on Equestria Daily. Anyway, the point is I was a big brony, and I was a big problem brony because I was the kind of brony that like got everyone else into being bronies. And at no point in time, we did a lot of embarrassing shit. But at no point in time did anyone ever get stabbed. Rick and Morty fans, fucking listen. The shit
They're
isn't
taking it to the
okay.
next level.
Did no one
Yeah,
ever
come
get
on.
stabbed by another fan of the same thing over the most trivial thing you can possibly imagine in your mind?
Yeah, y'all remember that Brony Pizza Hut video, right? Where all these like
It was
guys were
Brony
walking.
Pizza Hunt.
Oh yeah. When they go to Brony Pizza Hunt, that's
Like,
super
what
cringy
do
and hard to
they do?
watch.
They walk down the street, sing songs, and order some pizza. They
Yeah.
don't go into a fucking
No
McDonald's.
one was in any danger there. Rick and Morty fans, your show is not as good as like you're not. Your show is not good
Your
enough. to
show
stab
is not
someone
as
over.
good as My Little Pony.
I would say Rick and Morty and My Little Pony are, you know.
Let's not argue about that one.
Yeah, whatever. That's not even the point. Like, it's
Can
guys.
we move on, please?
I've said my piece, so yeah, I can move on. I'm good.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Stop.
Especially when you can get two different types of McDonald's sauce and just pour them into a container and mix them together to get Szechuan sauce.
Yeah.
Like, you can get
Alright.
barbecue and their hot sauce and it's Szechuan. Like,
Or their teriyaki or something. Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah, like, fuck.
Pokemon I Choose You, the movie, might be an alternate story about Pikachu searching for Ho-Ho, on the day that Ash and Pikachu met.
Yeah.
That
would
one
you like to
that
talk
one
about
looked
that,
interesting.
Dalsson?
I watched that trailer. It was a very short trailer. I'll actually link it in the chat here. It was very short trailer. It looks really interesting because it starts out with Ash starting his journey, you know, getting Pikachu, the attack with the Spearows and stuff where Pikachu saves them. They kind of like finally bond, and then they see Ho-Oh. And from that point on, from what it looks like is, instead of going to challenge all the gym leaders, meet Brock and Misty, and go on their adventures like that, Ash and Pikachu go on their own adventure to search out.
I feel like this would be a
fight
much
Ho-Oh.
better use of Ash's time.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
he was always just kind of a shittier version of Red.
yeah. Like, he never really he aspired to get stronger, but he didn't really ever do that.
He was really good at being friends with Pokemon, not using them to fight.
Yeah,
He should just
yeah.
get in those
He should just be.
fashion
So what you're
competitions.
saying is he should have just always been the
He
Brock
should
of
be
the
a
show.
Pokemon
He should be a
breeder, and Brock
Pokemon
should
breeder.
probably be the Pokemon trader.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I thought this movie looked really cool because it seems to be about Ash going through, like, you know, searching around the world, going through every different region of the Pokemon world and meeting all kinds of new interesting characters.
I mean, it's
and
a
stuff.
2-hour
Like, not
movie.
just
How
a
much can they
retelling
really
of like
do?
Ash, Brock, and Misty go into whatever.
Again,
you
it's
know?
a 2-hour movie. How much can they really cover?
Saint, I believe your audio is cut out.
No, it was you for half a second.
Was it? Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Odd.
Well, anyway, moving on. Box office for Blade Runner.
Blade Runner was not doing very good. We actually talked about this when we talked about Blade Runner last
did we?
week. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks.
New Star Wars trailer has some spoilers in it, probably.
Yeah, so
well,
don't watch the new Star Wars trailer. Basically,
So
You
we're
have
not
more to
going to
say-
talk about the new Star Wars trailer because
you have more to say about
did-
that. You watched it, right?
I've got a question.
yeah, I
Did
did.
either of you watch it? Yeah.
I
Okay,
didn't
you
watch
guys watched it?
Of course.
I didn't.
Okay.
How? Just don't even describe the spoilers. But how major of spoilers would you say it was?
I don't know anything about the rest of the movies, so probably.
That wasn't even
Probably
like
what? That wasn't even the right format of the answer.
Nah, just probably.
It's probably major
They're
spoilers.
probably spoilers.
So like you don't even know if they're spoilers or not.
I ain't seen the movie. I couldn't tell you.
I mean, part of the problem with trailers in general is like when you watch a trailer like that, you sit there waiting for that scene the whole movie. This
Yeah.
happened with Rogue One actually for me.
In our chat,
No.
they say
Oh,
he doesn't know if it's spoilers, and it's pretty vague.
Yeah. Okay.
So would you agree with that though? You don't really know if it actually is spoilers, but it probably is.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay.
but
I'd say that's-
okay, but anyway, what I was saying was Rogue One actually kind of did this for me. Like at the end of Rogue One, it's not a huge spoiler really. Darth Vader shows up, and then you have that cool scene where he turns on the lightsaber and then kills everyone, right?
Right.
They put that scene in one of the trailers, in the theatrical trailer that I saw like 4 times, something. So, so the whole movie, I was sitting there waiting for this scene. I knew it was going to happen. I mean, it's a little bit different because Rogue One specifically happens, like, right
it happens
before A
at
New
a time
Hope,
period
so it's
that
like,
you already know about.
so, I mean, that's less of a big deal, but it's like, it seems like for that to be such a dramatic moment in that movie, they shouldn't have put that in the trailer.
Yeah.
But I guess they just kind of wanted to have Darth Vader in the trailer, but, like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
And like the other
I
shots
didn't
of
even
Darth
see
Vader
the
kind of looks
trailer.
bad.
I didn't even see the trailer, but they could have easily just put a scene in the trailer with, like, Darth Vader's mask, and he goes, "Ugh."
Well, whatever.
And that would have been it.
Hey, Darth Vader
No.
from Star Wars.
I mean, there was
Disney
another
Presents.
scene they could have put in there that would
Yeah,
not
yeah,
have
there
been
straight up
as
was.
dramatic.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But, oh, by the way, Rogue One is on Netflix now if you haven't seen it, so.
Yeah.
I haven't really
I noticed,
seen it.
I noticed that the other day. I want to talk about Harvey Weinstein at the end, if that's fine.
Okay, let's wait for Harvey Weinstein. Y'all know what it is. There's a Justice League trailer.
I don't wanna talk
New
about Justice
Spawn.
League. Oh yeah,
Spawn.
Todd McFarlane says that he cites Get Out as an inspiration for the new Spawn movie. However that works. And he says that, like, he kind of went on to say that because of sort of other kind of superhero movies getting away with, like, darker and darker stories and higher ratings, that he feels like it is a good time now for an R-rated Spawn movie, which makes
Now
sense
is the time for Spawn.
because
now is the
Spawn
time for
should
Todd
have
McFarlane.
always been an R-rated movie.
Oh yeah, agreed.
I feel
So
like
that's
Get
cool.
Out. I don't understand how Get Out works.
Yeah,
like, maybe
that's
for
the
like
weird thing.
for what, a stick movie, maybe. Like, that's the only person I could think.
So I think he just really liked Get Out. So
Or maybe it's like, you know, the hypnosis like aspect of Get Out. It has something to
maybe,
do with
I
that.
don't know. I think he just
Maybe,
saw
I don't
Get
know.
Out and
I
was
couldn't
like,
tell you.
"Hey, Get Out is a good horror movie. I should make a good horror movie. Spawn
me
was a
too,
bad
though.
horror movie. I should make a new Spawn." Like, I think that's straight up what Todd McFarlane's thought process was, because I don't know how
Okay.
Get Out relates to that, right?
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
But I am
yeah.
ready for a new Spawn movie.
Yeah, it's. Been
I
enough
actually
time.
kind of liked the old one, even though it was bad. But
I think I've seen the old one, like the first like a third of it and the last third of it, because I fell asleep in the middle
Oh,
of it.
I've seen
Breaking
I've
news
seen it,
here.
like, 3 or 4 times.
It's
Oh.
right up on our ticker that we all know about. We have it right here down in our special secret thing. Stephen
Wow.
King's It has now inspired a new Ghost Rider movie. I can't wait.
I thought you were
Yay.
being serious at first.
No.
Anyway, Jackie Chan teases Rush Hour 4, and he says he
Woo!
just agreed with Chris Tucker that they are going to make a new one. But
Hell
that was on
yeah.
Twitter, and it's who knows if that's real.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, Chris, want to make a new Rush Hour?" And Chris was like, "Hell yeah!"
Well, here's the thing. Like 2 years ago, there was like a picture of Mark Frost and David Lynch in like a cafe talking to each other, and people were like, "Holy shit, new Twin Peaks confirmed!" And it was.
Yeah, who knows?
See,
Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows? That's basically what it boils down to. It's who knows. Now should we talk about Harvey Weinstein?
There's the Rotten Tomatoes thing. If you'd rather talk about that first.
What Rotten Tomatoes thing? Oh yeah, that's right. This actually is something I do want to talk about a little bit. Specifically, this Rotten Tomatoes thing is
I
something
feel like we
that,
talk about this every week.
Yeah, well, this is something that Martin Scorsese said, and that's I don't want to go into so much Rotten Tomatoes as much as Martin Scorsese.
Okay.
He is a director who, like we talk about, like a lot of directors who just sort of lose their way as they get older, like Ridley Scott and George Lucas. Martin Scorsese is not one of those. He has not lost his way, and he still makes very good movies, but he is very, very focused on like Hollywood in his opinions, and in his opinions, he sort of lost his way. Like he looks at Rotten Tomatoes like, this is ruining Hollywood movies, and he like looks at Hollywood and says, they don't make movies like they used to anymore. Because he's not looking outside
With
of
all
the
this
system.
computers that they invented when I
They
was
make all
70
these
years
fucking
old.
superhero movies and they're all trash. But it's like, here's the thing. Back in his day, the studios did fund movies like his movies because they needed to try something to really buff it up. Like nowadays, it's not the big studios that do that anymore. It's like Netflix and A24 and stuff like that that really fund like the lower down stuff. And he's so ingrained in the studio system, I feel like he's got blinders on. Because he's always been
Maybe.
part of the studio system, because he's always made the money, and they've never given up on him. So, yeah, that's sort of how I
He's
feel
never the
about
one
it.
who was running around doing the like Cannes Film Festival and
Yeah, Kane's.
Sundance,
Yeah.
Cannes. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Cannes.
he's very much been yeah, he's a studio man, and yeah, from the studio's perspective, they don't make movies, everything sucks now. Yeah, okay, fair enough. And then like every time he like has an opinion on Twitter, there will always be like these articles that's like, we talked to like 12 trillion billion foreign and indie directors about how this man is completely wrong.
Okay,
Like,
then.
I think he said something about like Netflix is shit. Fuck Netflix. I hate it. I don't know.
I
At
feel
this
like
point-
Netflix is a breath of fresh air. They're like the
Yeah,
only one
kind of
doing
agree. At
anything
this
in
point-
the industry right now.
Yeah.
Anybody who shits on Netflix is just like just gonna be lumped in with Blockbuster at this point in time. Like, really?
Yeah. We're not sponsored by Netflix, by the way. It was just, we just really like it.
God,
Yeah,
I wish.
We talk about them a lot.
Yeah, we sure do, huh? But yeah, I feel
mean,
like Martin
yeah,
Scorsese
Netflix
is a
originals.
yeah.
So
I-
what
I
did he
feel-
say about Rotten Tomatoes? Like, why did he? What was his
Okay,
justification for why he was saying Rotten Tomatoes is ruining the industry? Like, I don't
Oh
understand.
fuck, I don't remember.
Is it
I-
maybe because people are more focused
I
on
guess
Rotten
call him the way
Tomatoes
American-
than-
He's not happy with the rise of box office sales as oh yeah, he is pissed off that like box office like one of the things Rotten Tomatoes does is they like show the aggregation of box office sales, and he's a little bit pissed off about that mostly.
Oh.
Oh,
So
well, the
but
weird thing about Rotten Tomatoes is it like barely informs the box office anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, for instance, Blade Runner, that just happened. Like, Blade Runner got like a really good scores on Rotten Tomatoes, and it did poorly in the box office. Like,
Yeah.
so, and then like, I read this thing about how on the whole, Rotten Tomatoes follows the box office, and it's actually generally more favorable to things that make money.
yeah.
Like,
Right.
so it's not as if Rotten Tomatoes is biased against
We
things
actually
that make
talked
money.
about this a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't like a study showed that Rotten Tomatoes doesn't influence box office sales that much.
I think it's just
Or at
I
all.
think that it's correlational, right? It's not
Yeah.
causal.
Yeah.
Good
Good
Rotten
movies-
Rotten Tomatoes scores does a good job of mirroring
Aggregating,
what
yeah.
it already would make at the box office anyway. So
right.
for the
exactly.
most part, with outliers, like
Which is-
for instance,
Ideally what review aggregates should do. Just if things are good, then they should make money, and if things are good, then they should get good reviews, and vice versa.
right. And then there are outliers like Blade Runner, but in Blade Runner's defense, it was kind of a niche thing in the first place. So,
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, and not only that, but I feel like Rotten Tomatoes doesn't really have all that much impact on like China's money, and that's where a lot of the money
Right.
comes from in Hollywood.
And especially since like they like kind of shit on stuff like that King Kong movie, and King Kong made
Yeah.
a bunch of money, so
Bunch of
whatever.
money in China, yeah, and like all the
And here
Transformers
too.
movies.
So I don't
Yeah,
know.
here too.
Anyway, let's talk about the big elephant in the room.
Oh
we
boy,
didn't-
the
I don't know
big
anything
fat
about this
fuck
one.
in the
this
room.
just happened. Like, I think it broke on Sunday, right?
It's not
Yeah,
fair
it-
to call him an elephant.
Harvey
Yeah,
Weinstein.
it fucking is.
Harvey Weinstein.
He's the
Weinstein?
rapist.
I don't know how to pronounce his name
Weinstein,
exactly.
yeah, it's Weinstein.
Weinstein.
You gotta write the first down.
Yeah, so there have been lots of accusations about rape charges or rape stuff, general sexual harassment, kind of all coming out at once. And I saw that some reports saying like they have like some Hollywood reporters have been trying to break this story forever, but they could never get
Oh yeah.
people to come onto it. And like it goes back as far as like back in 2005, I think Seth MacFarlane of all people made a joke about it on the Oscars. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so
I
like this
remember.
has been a thing that's been going on forever, but they've never been able to actually nail it down. despite it
same
being the talk of Hollywood this whole time.
Yeah, same with Woody Allen. Like, also all of his horrible, disgusting practices, and that's just sort of the thing in Hollywood. That's unfortunately how Hollywood works. It's kind of fucking horrible, and I pray for the downfall of Hollywood every day. This is one of the reasons where it's like you have this big studio executives that's friends with everyone, that has this huge social circle, and can in fact ruin you. This motherfucker is groping up on you, and he's saying, you know what, you fucking tell anyone. Do you think you'll ever get any fucking work again? Do you think your entire dream, everything that you've worked so far to get here, can just be collapsed by me? I could destroy you immediately. So either you let me fill you up, or everything that you have worked for is down the fucking drain.
I feel
Never
like
work in this town again.
I feel like Harvey Weinstein is like, or what?
Weinstein, yeah.
Weinstein is kind of like the thing that people think about when they think about like he kind of embodies the like negative feelings people have towards Hollywood. So like, and the worst thing is like he's like one of the biggest players in the town, that like this is a big deal.
Oh, straight up.
But,
like
but
Harvey
even
Weinstein
taking him down, this is still gonna happen all over the place to greater and lesser extents. So it's like it just kind of the whole thing is ugly. And I'm glad that this is happening because he needs to be like knocked down, but at the same time it's like this is not gonna fix anything, which sucks.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was like one of the things, like Woody Allen is in the news because he's like, I really hope this doesn't start a witch hunt, so when people look into the fact that I adopted my wife from China as a kid. And people have been fucking...
And like the people around him in the Weinstein Company, like his brother and stuff, have been trying to like dodge, you know, taking some blame for it. But it's already gonna happen. Their company is ruined. They're already talking about changing the name, but that's not gonna help. Like,
well, I actually kind of... Well, here's the thing, and this is one of the things that we've been talking... This has sort of been a theme of this episode, and the last one, too. Is setting precedents. I do like that the story broke because I feel like it'll set more precedents for like other stories to like other people to get out there and say, hey, this is fucked up and this happened to me. I want to call out the specific person that did this. Like, and of course you always do have like the old money in Hollywood, and like the big power that they do have, which is still felt. Like this is just like one small chip off of the horrible rape block that is Hollywood. And that you have stuff like Brad Pitt still saying like, oh no, it's a huge shock and I had no idea that this was happening at all, ever. Even though it's like fairly obvious that everyone knows.
And then it was Angelina Jolie was one of the people who have come forward with complaints about Harvey Weinstein. So it's like it's so silly. I don't know. Like this. I mean, I don't mean to I don't know, take the seriousness out of it, saying it's silly, but it's stupid just how pervasive this is and how I don't know. And it's actually funny because like BoJack Horseman was talking about kind of some of these themes in the last season, and I know that we talk about BoJack a lot, but like
BoJack's really
that
good
show has been really on point, like predicting stuff before it's happened.
Yeah.
So
shit. One of the things I want to, and just
they're like great on social commentary around Hollywood.
Yeah. A thing aside that I really want to mention about BoJack is they made a joke about Terrence Malick. Good job, BoJack. I love you. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Anyway, back to Harvey Weinstein.
So yeah, I mean, there's already a lot of reporting on this. Like. And from every angle, like, people have been talking about this, like, about just all sorts of stuff. So there's not really much to say other than this is happening. If you're interested more in the story, like, there's plenty out there, but this is a big thing that happened. So
And again, I don't feel like we can understate this. Like, Harvey Weinstein was the studio man. Like, when you hear, like, studio, you think the Weinstein brothers, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, if for anyone who doesn't actually know, it is a major production company. It is, like, one of the
production
biggest.
company. Yeah,
And they produce like everything.
Yeah, specifically all of Tarantino's movies is one of the big ones.
So, it cannot be understated how big of a player Harvey Weinstein is, because he is a major
and that's why
player in
that's why
Hollywood.
this like hearing that they kicked Harvey Weinstein out of the Weinstein brothers,
out of his own company.
Yeah, was such a shock to me. Like, I didn't think that would ever happen for any reason, but they got him. And yeah, good work, guys. You fucking did it. Hey,
so
good work. You took him down. You got the bastard. Hollywood keep making them superhero movies. Fucking die.
That's all I really want to say about that.
Yeah, same. And that's about all that needs to be said.
Yep, that's about all of the news. So
that's it.
That's pretty much it for us this week. Make sure you like, comment, follow, and subscribe, and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Depending on whatever platform you're watching this on.
Oh, should we talk about what we're putting out?
Yeah, I don't know what we're putting out.
Upcoming stuff.
I have I have a video maybe coming out on Monday. It's gonna take a little bit of work.
Jesus Christ! Do you want to tell anybody what it is?
Okay.
Neither Faye nor I are involved.
Just tell us what game.
Okay. It's not a game. It's not a game.
Then I don't want to know.
Okay, never mind then.
So yeah, keep an eye out on our YouTube channel for Monday, because Thel has a surprise for us, I guess.
Our YouTube channel
is
linked down
on Monday. I hope it's gonna be. I hope it's gonna be ready on Monday. Yeah.
It is. Is it linked down on your Twitch?
It's linked down in the panels.
Okay.
Where it says Graveyard Media YouTube, you can just click on that. It'll link you right to it. I would give you a URL, but it's some string of random numbers for right now until we're not
cool enough. So
yeah, we're not cool enough yet.
Okay, so we'll check you out next time. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
And remember, stay beautiful.
Yeah.